Chapter 889. Sacred Flame Royal City, Heavenly Pill Pavilion. The competition held by the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. The 10 people who would represent the Shengyan dynasty to participate in the pill gathering of the 3 dynasties had been selected. 5 of them were the main contestants, while the other 5 were just substitutes. Among the large group of people, although Su Sha had recommended everyone to Li Zongjiu only knew 2 people, Kun Erisher and Qi Yanran. He was not surprised that Qi Yanran was able to get this spot. After all, Qi Yanran's level was not low. One of them was from the Purple Pill Academy, while the other 2 were from the Heavenly Time Medicine Manor. If Li Zongjiu and Kun Erisher were included, then the Heavenly Time Medicine Manor was indeed very powerful. However, Li Zongjiu had to pay attention to the main contestants. After all, the 5 of them would represent the Shengyan dynasty and represent the strength of the Shengyan dynasty. They must not be weak. Foresees Medicine Manor, Qi Yanran. Heavenly Pill Pavilion, Prescription. This name was not a joke. It was called Prescription, and it had a deep impact on many people. Even Li Zongjiu looked at the prescription in front of him. A square face. Standing in the same place, he looked at Li Zongjiu with eyes full of respect. Obviously, he was a talent secretly cultivated by the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. There was another person who came from a northern family. Nan Peixian. Li Zongjiu had heard of this person in his previous life. In the next few decades, he would shine brightly. However, because he was too arrogant, he was directly killed. It was not a pity. After all, this kid really deserved a beating. In his previous life, Li Zongjiu could not beat this guy. The name Nan Peixian sounded a little awkward. It was almost like 2 people's surnames were superimposed together. Kun Erisher is a reserve contestant? Li Zongjiu asked. Kun Erisher also scratched his head. Being able to break into the top 10 was already pretty good. At that time, whether or not he would be able to play would be another matter. What about the other one? Li Zongjiu said. Su Sha looked at the time. The other one is me. A loud voice came from the door. It sounded a little hurried. Although Li Zongjiu had not communicated with this person for a while, when he heard this voice, he immediately recalled this person. Ling Yan. Ling Yan, dressed in a dark red dress, appeared at the door. How can she participate? Isn't she a teacher? Even Li Zongjiu was puzzled. Why did Ling Yan come to join in the fun? Who said I can't participate? Ling Yan said proudly. Li Zongjiu didn't understand what was there to be proud of, but Su Sha explained. As long as your age is not over 25 years old, you can participate. When Li Zongjiu heard that age was not over 25 years old, he felt a little guilty. After all, he was more than 3,000 years old in his previous life. If he was tested, wouldn't it be very embarrassing? Although no one would believe it. But the truth was like this, so Li Zongjiu's heart was more or less nervous. But he quickly calmed down. Looking at Ling Yan, the latter puffed out her proud little chest, like a little rooster that had won a battle. It turned out that this guy thought that he was very young, so he had such an attitude. Today, everyone gather together for dinner. Tomorrow at noon, we will set off together. This time, we will be escorted by Vice Pavilion Master Chu Tairan and Head Zhou Zheng of the Elite Martial Hall. A few of the younger people also applauded. Then, Chu Tairan and Zhou Zheng walked out. Zhou Zheng looked at Li Zongjiu and nodded to Li Zongjiu. The few people in front of them were quite familiar with Head Zhou Zheng's name. Because Sacred Flame Imperial City's ideology was more advanced, there were also some teaching martial arts halls in the city that specialized in selling their own unique skills. As long as you pay, you can come and learn. Moreover, you don't need to be a disciple. In the past, those people who had some unique skills were basically hidden. If you weren't a disciple of the sect, then you wouldn't be able to see anything at all. These were all life-saving things, how could they be casually taught? But since the opening of the first martial arts hall, they taught their own unique skills, from shallow to deep. If you could grasp the basics, then they would teach you something more profound. Originally, many people thought that this martial arts hall would collapse very quickly. However, that wasn't the case. Instead, he used this method to spread his martial arts reputation to all parts of the dynasty. His reputation immediately rose, and even people who were thousands of miles away came to learn from him. Even if you already had a master, you could still pay to learn from him. Subsequently, more and more people followed suit. However, the reason why such a martial arts hall could continue to be passed down and become popular was because it required real skills. If you weren't strong enough, it was almost impossible to survive in such a place. And Zhou Zheng's martial arts hall was ranked number 1 in Sacred Flame Imperial City. Whether it was popularity or strength, it was undoubtedly number 1. For such a legendary person to personally escort, besides feeling that it was grand, it also felt that the empire attached enough importance to this competition. However, if he didn't see wrongly, when Zhou Zheng came in, he actually greeted Li Zongjiu first. Could it be that Li Zongjiu and Zhou Zheng were related? After that, Chu Tairan also gave a speech and invited everyone to the restaurant opposite to have a meal together. It was considered a banquet for them to start work. At the same time, it was also a way for them to interact and get to know each other. When he heard that this matter would take nearly half a month, Li Zongjiu was a little unhappy. Back then, he was too young when he agreed to Su Hong's request. After all, he only wanted to settle the trouble in front of him first. In addition, he saw how loyal Su Hong was, so he agreed. Who knew that it would be so troublesome? But now, the matters of White Deer Manor were more or less settled. The King of Fire was personally overseeing it. In addition, there were 4 primitive Emperor-level soul beasts. Even if the Sacred Flame Imperial family wanted to touch White Deer Manor, it would probably take at least half a year to discuss. Therefore, Li Zongjiu could go without worries. However, Li Zongjiu didn't participate in the dinner that night. Instead, he returned to White Deer Manor and arranged some matters. When Xiao Zhao came in front of the Black Wind Blood Shadow Condor, his eyes almost popped out. When he heard that Li Zongjiu wanted to give the Black Wind Blood Shadow Condor to him, he shook his head like a rattledrum. No, this is an primitive Emperor-level soul beast. Which cultivator didn't want to have an primitive Emperor-level soul beast? It was almost a dream and they couldn't wait to have it immediately. However, Xiao Zhao actually firmly rejected it. However, rejecting Li Zongjiu was an invalid action. Li Zongjiu used the method that he mastered in his previous life to transfer the Black Wind Blood Shadow Condor's spiritual imprint to Xiao Zhao. Out of the 2 Black Wind Blood Shadow Condors, Li Zongjiu chose the female one for Xiao Zhao. When Xiao Zhao's mind power merged with the Black Wind Blood Shadow Condor, Xiao Zhao's mind power level reached the primitive Emperor level directly. Ordinary people would need at least 30 to 50 years of cultivation. However, Li Zongjiu completed it in one night, and he even helped others to complete it. Chapter 890. Of course, such an action would be very dangerous in the hands of other people. If the transfer of the spiritual imprint wasn't done properly, you might even die along with the soul beast and the person you wanted to transfer. Of course, if the transfer was done properly, such a thing wouldn't happen. This could be considered easy, but it was also difficult. Li Zongjiu had done some research on mind power, so he succeeded easily this time. Xiao Zhao was a little excited when he sensed his own strength. It's not a good thing for you to have such strong mind power when you just entered the sect. Read this first. Read it at least 3 times a day. As he said that, Li Zongjiu extended his hand and tapped Xiao Zhao's forehead gently. A message was transmitted directly into Xiao Zhao's mind. Xiao Zhao was slightly shocked when he received this message. White God Fu. Although Xiao Zhao still didn't understand what level of cultivation manual this white god Fu was, how could this white god Fu be simple when Li Zongjiu made a move on a primitive emperor-grade yuan beast? Don't worry, young master. I will definitely keep this white god Fu in my heart. Upon seeing Xiao Zhao's expression, it seemed like he had already made up his mind to protect this thing with his life. Li Zongjiu rubbed Xiao Zhao's head. I'll leave my huge family business to you. Xiao Zhao was like a little child as Li Zongjiu rubbed his head forcefully. Xiao Zhao immediately felt a warm feeling. However, Xiao Zhao also ran away bashfully. Originally, Li Zongjiu wanted to hand the Sky Hell Python over to Li Yun. However, Li Yun wasn't willing to do so. She had been beaten to death by Li Zongjiu, so she didn't want the Sky Hell Python. This immediately made the Heavenly Yama Emperor Python that was still hiding on the mountain feel extremely wronged. Alright then, I'll catch you a good one next time. Li Zongjiu said. The other Black Wind Blood Shadow Condor wasn't suitable for Li Yun. As for the Sky Blaze Lion, it naturally wasn't suitable either. Li Yun cultivated array formations and needed a meta beast that was good at defense. The Heavenly Yama Emperor Python was the perfect choice. It was good at hiding and guarding. You might be eaten by the Heavenly Yama Emperor Python before you even got close. Li Yun also had a mission to fulfill. She had to go to the King of Fire's courtyard to learn about formations. When she was free, she had to help Nangong Wuji set up some basic facilities in Bailu Manor. The arrangement of the formation was especially important. As for Li Baichao and the others, Li Zongjiu handed them over to Tian Fei and asked him to train them in martial arts. At the same time, Lu Wenshan regained some freedom. He appeared as a sinful lecturer. He imparted the most basic knowledge of elixirs to Lu Wenshan. In addition, he assigned many alchemy tasks to Lu Wenshan. As for the ingredients, he didn't have to worry at all. With the Li family's current wealth, refining some elixirs wasn't a problem at all. Most of the things they robbed from the Gu family were handed over to Xiao Zhao to handle. Li Zongjiu also kept some useful things in his hands. No wonder so many people liked to be bandits. The speed of making money was indeed very fast. Even Li Zongjiu wanted to continue robbing. He only hoped that more people would come to provoke Li Zongjiu. Not only would he make you bankrupt, but he would also kill your entire family. Li Zongjiu was that domineering. At noon on the second day, Li Zongjiu also arrived at the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion early to wait. Although Li Zongjiu's strength and status were different now, Li Zongjiu didn't have the habit of acting like a big shot. If he should arrive early, he would arrive early. A person must keep his word. When he said the time, it would be the time. He couldn't be late. Li Zongjiu had just arrived at the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion when he bumped into Qi Yanran, who was walking over from the opposite side. Morning. Li Zongjiu said to Qi Yanran. Morning. Qi Yanran also said softly. Since the fight with Li Zongjiu in the Four Seas Medicine Mansion, the relationship between Li Zongjiu and the Qi family had become unclear. After that, the Qi family and Li Zongjiu had a lot of connections. This made Qi Yanran have an inexplicable longing. Could this be a kind of fate? However, Qi Yanran also knew in her heart that Li Zongjiu was such an outstanding person. Wherever his eyes passed, there would be mountains. Therefore, she had to become a mountain to be able to enter Li Zongjiu's eyes. However, to say that she had chosen Li Zongjiu seemed to be a bit too early for Qi Yanran. Even Qi Yanran couldn't explain her thoughts. If she had to use a word to describe it, it would be nervousness. You two are so early. Have you eaten? Koen Erasher suddenly walked out with a paper bag in his hand. In the paper bag, there were fragrant meat buns. Give me a few. Li Zongjiu directly reached in, grabbed the buns, and stuffed them into his mouth. It just so happened that he hadn't eaten before. There's also soy milk. Kuan Erisher handed a cup of soy milk to Li Zongjiu. Where did you get so many buns? Li Zongjiu glanced at it. I put them in my storage ring. My storage ring is custom-made. It can keep things warm. Kuan Erisher said while eating. A storage ring that could keep things warm. Only people like Kuan Erisher could do such a thing. Do you want some? Kuan Erisher handed the paper bag full of buns to Qi Yanran. No, thank you. Just give me a cup of soy milk. Qi Yanran said. In fact, she had received a high education. It was very rare for her to eat in public. At first, she was a little embarrassed. At the same time, she was also embarrassed to refuse Kuan Erisher in front of Li Zongjiu. However, Li Zongjiu and Kuan Erisher seemed to be eating very happily. Qi Yanran couldn't help but swallow her saliva. Hey! Li Zongjiu suddenly called Qi Yanran. Ah! Qi Yanran didn't know why Li Zongjiu called her. The next second, she felt something was stuffed into her mouth. Qi Yanran's whole face immediately turned red. Li Zongjiu actually did such a thing. Qi Yanran even wanted to tear Li Zongjiu to pieces on the spot. This is a bun from the city's Gubuli bun shop. It's delicious. Li Zongjiu and Kuan Erisher laughed and said. Looking at Qi Yanran's embarrassed appearance, Qi Yanran took a bite. The skin was thin, there was a lot of stuffing, the soup was delicious, and the temperature was just right. When the soft skin mixed with the soup entered her mouth, Qi Yanran immediately forgot about beating Li Zongjiu. Delicious. Chapter 891. Qi Yanran had eaten it in public and her mouth was stained with grease. She even licked her lips at the end, as if she hadn't had enough. This alluring scene landed in the eyes of Nan Peixian, who had just walked in. Immediately, a strange glint flashed across his eyes. However, Nan Peixian quickly withdrew this glint. He pretended not to see Qi Yanran's embarrassed look and saluted her with cupped fists. Nan Peixian greets Miss Qi. Miss Qi is really punctual. I thought I would be the first to arrive, but I didn't expect Miss Qi to be one step ahead of me. Nan Peixian didn't think much of Li Zongjiu and Kuan Erisher. Nan Peixian hadn't mingled in the Sacred Flame Royal City before. When he was outside, he had never heard of Li Zongjiu. He had some recollection of the Ancient One's name. After all, he had been very popular recently, but a few days ago, the Ancient One had given up on the competition for personal reasons. Nan Peixian had wanted to experience the Ancient One's strength, but he hadn't expected the Ancient One to go into hiding. As for Li Zongjiu, he was at most a last-minute candidate from the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion. He should be capable, but no one knew how capable he was. Nan Peixian didn't even think much of the Ancient One. Naturally, he didn't think much of Li Zongjiu either. Nan Peixian's eyes had never been set on the Shengyan dynasty, but on the entire Xingu continent. He, Nan Peixian, was not such a simple person. He would definitely achieve great things in the future. He would let everyone in the world know his name. Qi Yanran only glanced at Nan Peixian indifferently and didn't pay much attention to him. Based on a woman's intuition, she naturally knew that Nan Peixian was deliberately trying to get close to her. The more he acted like this, the more annoying he was. I say, are you blind? Can't you see that the two of us are here too? Kuan Erisher directly said to Nan Peixian. This person really had no eyesight. Could it be that he only had eyes for women? It was really funny. Kuan Erisher could naturally tell what Nan Peixian was up to. Didn't you see that Qi Yanran and Li Zongjiu were in a heated relationship? How dare you try to poach her with your level? I'll break your legs in a minute. Therefore, Kuan Erisher naturally didn't give Nan Peixian any face. Nan Peixian glanced at Kuan Erisher. You're just a loser, what's there to be arrogant about? These faint words made Kuan Erisher choke to death. He had already exchanged blows with Nan Peixian a few days ago. However, even if Kuan Erisher went all out, he was still unable to defeat Nan Peixian. The other party seemed to have won easily. You said you won, but you actually didn't respect your opponent. That's why I've been displeased with this guy for a long time. If you keep talking, I'll tear your mouth. Li Zongjiu glanced at Nan Peixian. How could a man like him have so many things to do? He was so noisy early in the morning. Nan Peixian didn't expect Li Zongjiu to be so rude. He directly said that he was going to fight in front of Qi Yanran. As an alchemist in King City, he was actually so rude. He wouldn't lower himself to the same level as such a rude person. Humph. Nan Peixian pretended to be aloof and snorted coldly, as if saying that he disdained to argue with such a rude person. Try snorting again. Who would have known that this Li Zongjiu was not so easy to deal with? This warning immediately made Nan Peixian extremely unhappy in his heart. Just as he was about to flare up, Chu Taishan and Zhou Jing also stepped forward. Chu Taishan and the others clearly saw the scene just now. If Nan Peixian didn't step forward now, he would probably be beaten up by Li Zongjiu. When that happened, it would be unknown if he could still represent the Shengyan dynasty in the competition. Nan Peixian had just walked out of his own king's world, so he didn't know how powerful Li Zongjiu was. However, Chu Taishan and the others were very clear. Zhou Jing saw with his own eyes how Li Zongjiu crippled the Ancient One. The Ancient One was originally a protected target of the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion and was also a seeded contestant. However, he was easily crippled by Li Zongjiu. Even now, Li Zongjiu wasn't punished at all. It was as if this incident didn't happen at all and the Ancient One didn't even exist. Li Zongjiu's name had been completely removed from the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. After all, he was an honorary elder. His strength and status were all different. According to the procedures, when these children saw Li Zongjiu, they had to call him elder. As for the matter of the Gu family being exterminated, although there was no definite result, anyone with a discerning eye knew that it was done by Li Zongjiu. However, how was Li Zongjiu able to do it without anyone knowing and kill them? Later on, there were many rumors that came out. It was said that the two great elders of the Gu clan, Gu Chuan and Gu Hai, were both killed by Li Zongjiu. It seemed that when they ambushed Li Zongjiu, they were killed by Li Zongjiu instead. The sect leader of the Mystic Yuan sect and a few other elders also died at the hands of Li Zongjiu. Although these rumors weren't confirmed, the Mystic Yuan sect had indeed closed their doors recently. This made the outside world unable to understand the situation in the Mystic Yuan sect. Therefore, the news that the sect leader of the Mystic Yuan sect had been killed spread more and more widely. However, the Mystic Yuan sect didn't make any moves. At this point, most people had already guessed it. This was true. Otherwise, this would be a huge insult to a sect. How could they say that the sect leader of the Mystic Yuan sect had been killed in broad daylight? If they didn't cause trouble for them, wouldn't they be in a mess because of what they said? The arrival of these two people could be considered to have saved the kid's life. After that, the rest of the members also arrived. Other than the accompanying participants, there were also some disciples from the Heavenly Pill Pavilion who could be considered as the accompanying staff. After all, when they arrived at the venue, there were many things that needed to be taken care of. They needed to communicate with the people on the other side. This was the only way to get things done. It could also save Li Zongjiu and the others a lot of trouble. Su Sha was also among them. Obviously, Su Sha's ability to work had been greatly recognized. Everyone boarded the Heavenly Pill Pavilion's flying ship. The Heavenly Pill Pavilion's flying ship looked simple on the outside, but the interior was very luxurious. Its appearance was extremely low-key. However, in addition to the main flying ship, there were two other warships protecting it. There weren't many people who came to see them off. Even many people in the dynasty didn't think highly of this expedition. One had to know that the Heavenly Pill Pavilion had only been established for a few years. Even now, there were some famous alchemy clans in the underworld who had yet to make a move. Their strength was stronger than the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. In other words, the Heavenly Pill Pavilion's strength wasn't the top in the Shengyan dynasty. However, if they were to participate in the Three Dynasties alchemy gathering and were defeated outside, it would naturally be extremely humiliating when they returned. Chapter 892. The influence of the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion had not reached that level yet. Li Zongjiu could also see these people. Although the heroic elixir list had been listed, it basically covered some people who were halfway or barely passable. Some of the real top people. They were still hiding and even disdained to participate in some of the competitions held by the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion. For example, Li Zongjiu had met the Eastern Medicine clan at the Dark Horse Elixir meeting. Any one of those people could at least be ranked in the top 3 here. Only on such occasions would some experts emerge from time to time. Kuan Erisher had also fought with the people of the Eastern Medicine clan. He knew how powerful these people were. Although he was lucky enough to be ranked in the top 10 of the heroic elixir list, Kuan Erisher also knew that there was always someone better than him. The real experts were not limited to these people. He must strengthen his own strength. Seeing that Nan Peixian dared to have designs on Li Zongjiu's woman, Kuan Erisher naturally would not let him go easily. He even kept a close eye on Nan Peixian along the way. If there was any movement, he would immediately come over. This made Nan Peixian clench his fists. He wished he could punch Kuan Arashi's head. If Kuan Erisher was in the north, the tendons of his hands and feet would definitely be broken. There were special cabins and berths on the flying boat. In addition, there were special lounges, communication rooms, reading rooms, and so on. It was like a private residence had been moved here. It wouldn't be a problem for him to live on the flying boat. The name of the flying boat was Heavenly Elixir Pavilion. We have to fly for 2 days to reach the Haiku dynasty. The competition hall of the Three Dynasties Elixir meeting was set up in Tianxiu Elixir City of the Haiku dynasty. This trip was also to pass through the Black Water Forest. Of course, this route did not pass through the sky of Wuxia City. It was a little distance away. Therefore, during this period of time, you are free to move around. You can communicate with each other more. Remember, don't fight. As Chu Tairan spoke, he stared at Kuan Erisher and Nan Peixian. Among all the people present, only the 2 of them had the ability to fight. Moreover, it seemed that the 2 of them didn't like each other. If there weren't so many people watching, the 2 of them would have already started fighting. Since there was nothing else, Li Zongjiu went to cultivate. He couldn't afford to waste most of his cultivation time just because of this unimportant match. Although there wasn't much of a threat at the moment, there was still an extremely great threat. Sky Shaman. This person's strength was extremely strong in his previous life. Li Zongjiu had only caught up to Sky Wu's cultivation later on. If he wanted to fight with this person, there was still a long way to go. Moreover, Wu Tian had obtained the Ghost King's secret realm directly. In a short period of time, he was bound to have an extremely powerful breakthrough. In addition, about a year later, a great treasure would be born. Li Zongjiu also needed to prepare enough strength. Ling Yan wanted to chat with Li Zongjiu for a while, but found that Li Zongjiu had already returned to his birth cabin alone and began to cultivate. Ling Yan couldn't help but admire Li Zongjiu. He didn't waste even a little bit of time. It was also because of this that Li Zongjiu was able to have such a powerful strength and grow to the point where he was today. It wasn't without reason for a person to become outstanding. You only saw the success in front of him, but you didn't see the bitterness behind it. After seeing Li Zongjiu go to cultivate, Kuan Erisher naturally didn't stay idle. There was a kitchen in the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion, and a special chef was waiting respectfully. After all, the tastes of many experts were ever changing, especially when it came to food. Most of them had higher requirements. Although cultivation could alleviate hunger, eating was still a form of enjoyment. It couldn't be delayed like this. Most people were also immersed in cultivation. However, Nan Peixian deliberately stayed in the book cabin. This time, in addition to Ling Yan and Qi Yanran, there were two other women. Li Zongjiu didn't know the background of these two women, but he heard that one of them was someone's granddaughter. He couldn't remember the specific name, but he felt that it was very powerful. And it seemed that they had some connections in the royal family. The other person also came from a relatively low-key family. The reason why these people came here was because the influence of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion was gradually spreading. Their family's foundation was not as good as the Northern Medicine family, so when they couldn't sit still, they had to respond to the call so that there wouldn't be any problems. Xia Wanji. Grandfather Xia Deshun. If this name was mentioned, then people would immediately think of a person related to this name. The number one alchemist in the royal family, Mr. Deshun. This Xia Wanji was Mr. Deshun's granddaughter. To be able to have such a reputation. To be able to be crowned as the number one alchemist in the royal family, it was enough to see Mr. Deshun's strength. For many years, he had been refining elixirs for the dignitaries of the royal family. This elixir not only had to be effective, but also had to be extremely pure. Otherwise, some people with ulterior motives would do something to this elixir, which would bring great harm. This Xia Wanji was Xia Deshun's granddaughter. To say that her background was already not small, but she still couldn't become an official member, and could only be a substitute. The reason was that this edge was overshadowed by Qi Yanran and Ling Yan. Miss Xia is reading the Thousand Mountain Flying Bird scripture. Seeing Xia Wanji and another girl. This girl was called Yuxian. Nan Peixian knew Yuxian's identity. The Yu family that Yuxian belonged to was slightly below the Nan family in terms of alchemy. Therefore, Nan Peixian wasn't interested in Yuxian. Of course, if Yuxian was willing to throw herself into his arms, he wouldn't mind. Seeing the book in Xia Wanji's hand, Nan Peixian deliberately walked up and said. Xia Wanji closed the book and looked at Nan Peixian on the opposite side. Young Master Nan has studied this Thousand Mountain Flying Bird scripture. Hearing Xia Wanji's words, Nan Peixian immediately knew that there was hope. At least, she didn't directly reject him. To be honest, this Thousand Mountain Flying Bird scripture was written by an old ancestor of my Nan family with his life's work. Every disciple of the Nan family must know it by heart. Nan Peixian said with a low-key smile. But the expression on his face seemed to be as proud as it could be. Chapter 893. With the signboard of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion here, even the bandits in the sky did not dare to come close. Let's not talk about what kind of big shot was in the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion. If he accidentally bumped into the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion, he would probably lose his entire fortune. How would they dare to approach? All of them hid far away. In addition, the two guard battleships of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion, one in front and one behind, were extremely ferocious existences. Once they were determined to be an existential threat, it would not be a problem for them to directly blast you down. Above the black water forest. As the Heavenly Pill Pavilion flew, it broke through layers of clouds. Inside the airship, Zhou Zheng was still meditating and cultivating. Although it was said that he was cultivating, the aura around his body was wrapped around the entire Heavenly Elixir Pavilion. This time, Zhou Zheng was not here to travel, but to protect these important seeds of the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion. Of course, Zhou Zheng also knew that the pressure on this trip would be relatively less. After all, there was Li Zongjiu with him. Zhou Zheng was not clear about the power that Li Zongjiu possessed. However, if Zhou Zheng could feel the threat, then it was definitely not simple. Many years of cultivation experience told Zhou Zheng that Li Zongjiu was definitely not an existence to be trifled with. Even in the cabin, one could see the scenery outside the window. When Li Zongjiu looked out of the window, there was light flowing below. In his previous life, Li Zongjiu had also passed through the Black Water Forest alone. However, in his previous life, he had offended some people. In the end, he had no choice but to pass through the Black Water Forest to escape. Of course, when Li Zongjiu returned, he killed all of these people. As for what kind of enemies they were, Li Zongjiu could not remember clearly. In the 3,000 years of experience in his previous life, it was normal to have a few enemies who would not rest until one of them was dead. In this life, he once again rushed out of the Black Water Forest and headed towards the Haiku dynasty. There was a different feeling in his heart. I heard that the right to host the competition changed hands several times. Originally, it belonged to the Heavenly Fire dynasty. Later, it was transferred to the Haiku dynasty. I don't know why. Xia Wanji's gaze was as calm as water. While looking at the scroll in her hand, she seemed to be chatting with Nan Peixian about this matter. I'm not too sure about that. However, I've heard about the opponents of the two empires. Nan Peixian said. As the main contestant this time, Nan Peixian had a lofty image in front of the two women. Of course, this was what Nan Peixian thought in his heart. It had to be like this. Oh. I wonder, who are the most threatening people to you? Xia Wanji could not help but say. Heavenly Flame Dynasty, Heavenly Flame Pill Prefecture, Mu Qingniu. Haiku Dynasty, Hei Chu Pill Hall, Long Xian. These two people are extremely famous in their respective empires. Moreover, their status is not low. Even the Ancient One, who was extremely famous in the city, pales in comparison to them. These two people will be the greatest enemies of the Shengyan dynasty. Nan Peixian had also done his homework. Moreover, he was aware that the origins of these two individuals were not simple. His eyes were burning with radiance as he spoke. It was as though he had already imagined the scene of him fighting with these people on the Wind Cloud Arena. However, Nan Peixian said that even the Ancient One paled in comparison to these two people. At the same time, he was filled with fighting spirit towards these two people. Could it be that he, Nan Peixian, was stronger than the Ancient One? Speaking of the Ancient One, I heard that he was also one of the contestants this time. How did he suddenly lose his qualification and disappear? Wuxia was also from the outer city. Before this, she had not heard of the matter between Li Zongjiu and the Ancient One. She also did not know that Li Zongjiu had burned down Lingbo Hall and broke one of Zhang Tianfeng's arms. This news had been suppressed by people who cared about their reputation, especially the Gu family. However, the Gu family had been wiped out too quickly. Even the main family of the Gu family did not know about it. The Gu family in the Sacred Flame Imperial City had already been wiped out. They were probably still waiting for their reply. The Ancient One is nothing. It's good that he has gone into hiding. I guess he's afraid. Nan Peixian said calmly. This kind of thing was not unheard of. If he accidentally lost the reputation and prestige that he had accumulated over the years because of this competition, he would choose to give up. This was a wise choice. In Nan Peixian's opinion, the Ancient One was just like that. Otherwise, what other reason could there be? However, Xia Wanji just smiled faintly and did not say anything. Could it be that she had to drag Li Zongjiu out to testify? Then, in young Master Nan's opinion, what do you think of the honorary elder of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion, Li Zongjiu's strength? Li Zongjiu. The honorary elder of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. Li Zongjiu's name was spread by word of mouth among these alchemists. Almost no one didn't know Li Zongjiu's name, so each and every one of them was very surprised. When they came to the Sacred Flame Imperial City to participate in the competition, they heard the name Li Zongjiu the most. He was the king of alchemists. There was even news that Li Zongjiu was a grade 6 alchemist. Such a young grade 6 alchemist was directly invited to become the honorary elder of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. Xia Wanji had wanted to meet Li Zongjiu for a long time. However, Li Zongjiu did not seem to be easy to get along with, and he did not sound as powerful as he seemed. He seemed more like an ordinary person. Therefore, Xia Wanji found it hard to imagine. Li Zongjiu actually defeated the Ancient One. Moreover, he looked like a grade 6 alchemist. He is just a kid who was lucky enough to trigger the pill lightning. If you want to become a grade 6 alchemist, you must trigger the pill lightning 3 times in the realm of grade 5 alchemist. Only then will you be able to stabilize your status as a grade 6 alchemist. I think that Li Zongjiu triggering the pill lightning that day was just an accident. There is nothing to be proud of. Nan Peixian seemed to be very disdainful of Li Zongjiu. Although I've never seen Li Zongjiu in action, everything will be clear when we reach the storm platform. This pretentious guy won't be arrogant for long. Nan Peixian said lightly. Everyone, be careful. There's a black cloud storm ahead. The flying boat will experience violent turbulence, but don't panic. Black cloud storm. This was not just a small black cloud storm, but a whole storm. Once the terrifying storm group condensed together, the power it produced would be incomparably huge. Chapter 894. The appearance of the black cloud storm in front of them will be a disaster for this airship. Even in the face of a simple black cloud storm, the airship must be careful. This time, a group of storms appeared directly, which means that there are at least 3 storms. Everyone, enter the cabin. Chu Tairan shouted through the broadcast in the cockpit. He still had the skills to do so. Originally, there were some people working on the deck, measuring the wind direction, observing the environment ahead, responsible for the surrounding vigilance and so on. After hearing the broadcast, they also returned to the cabin. The incomparably dense black storm appeared in front of them. The storm was like the bloody mouth of a giant beast, mercilessly devouring all life in its path. It seemed to want to devour the airship in the sky as well. Both Chu Tairan and Zhou Jing also had a dignified look. This group of storms is not simple. I always feel that there is something hidden in this storm. Zhou Jing said in a deep voice. However, at this time, everyone had clearly returned to the cabin, but they found that a figure took the initiative to walk to the deck. Fuck, what does this kid mean? Chu Tairan saw Li Zongjiu take the initiative to walk out. Su Sha saw it and quickly wanted to pull Li Zongjiu back, but Li Zongjiu was unusually stubborn and directly pushed Su Sha back. Li Zongjiu, what are you doing? It's very dangerous outside now. The wind outside was so strong that Su Sha almost couldn't stand firm. She could only lean on the back of the door. Su Sha's cultivation was not very strong, so it was difficult for her to withstand this extremely terrifying storm. She didn't dare to go out too far. If she was blown away, even her corpse wouldn't be found. Now that they had rushed into the black cloud storm group, the flying boat could not turn around, and its movements could not be too big. Otherwise, the black cloud storm would sense the movement here and gather all the wind and thunder here. This was an extremely normal occurrence. Qi Yanran heard Su Sha's cry. The power of the black cloud storm was not simple. Even if a Yuan monarch martialist were to rush into it, he would only end up dead. It would be difficult for him to escape from the black cloud storm. Furthermore, even a peak Yuan monarch martialist would not be able to withstand 10 strikes of the black cloud storm. They were in the cabin. If they retracted their auras and drove carefully, they could drive the ship out directly. Of course, there was still a chance. The lives of all the people on the ship were at stake here. Although the pilot in the cockpit had nearly 30 years of experience, he could still feel his palms filled with sweat in the face of this storm of black clouds. His heart was also constantly in a tense state. If he was the slightest bit careless, the lives of this group of people would be lost. And it just so happened that it happened at this extremely tense moment. Unexpectedly, a figure entered the driver's line of sight. Because the cockpit of the heavenly elixir pavilion was high up, they could see the situation on the deck at a glance. When they saw Li Zongjiu walking on the deck, they immediately widened their eyes. What? What is that fellow trying to do? Although the driver's physical condition was not bad, when he saw Li Zongjiu suddenly walking on the deck, he immediately felt a surge of blood rushing to his head and head. What was this fellow trying to do? Was he trying to get everyone killed and drag everyone down with him? That's Li Zongjiu. Zhou Zheng and Chu Tairan naturally saw Li Zongjiu as well. Zhou Zheng immediately wanted to rush out and pull Li Zongjiu back. Wasn't this fellow causing trouble here? However, Chu Tairan pulled him back. It's too late. If you go out, the black cloud storm will gather even more. Chu Tairan pointed at the storm that had appeared in the distant sky. The power of lightning had already begun to gather. This was not a spontaneous formation of the black cloud storm. Li Zongjiu had taken the initiative to attract the black cloud storm. Boom! Qi Yanran had just walked behind Su Sha and looked at the situation on the deck through the gap of the door. Immediately, a bolt of lightning directly struck towards Li Zongjiu. The dark and thick lightning directly fell on Li Zongjiu's body. If it fell to such an extent, then the heavenly elixir pavilion? It was estimated that it would be directly pierced through. A strong shock wave came towards the two of them and directly blasted Su Sha away. If Qi Yanran had not caught Su Sha behind her, Su Sha would have been badly shaken by this shock wave. Hide in the cabin. After leaving such a sentence, Qi Yanran stepped out and closed the cabin door behind her. She stared at the scene in front of her. With Qi Yanran's understanding of Li Zongjiu would not do something boring. It seemed that time was very precious to Li Zongjiu. Therefore, everything that Li Zongjiu did had always been straightforward and went straight to the point. Therefore, when Li Zongjiu came to the deck and faced the black cloud storm, Qi Yanran also knew that Li Zongjiu must have a purpose. But she did not expect that Li Zongjiu actually wanted to use the black cloud storm to cultivate. Some people heard the movement outside, and the surrounding pressure was getting stronger and stronger. Immediately, they ran into the cabin and looked at the situation outside. That madman wants to kill all of us. Nan Peixian saw Li Zongjiu outside the deck and immediately cursed, if he wants to commit suicide, he can just jump down. He actually wants us to be buried with him. Shut your mouth, it stinks. Kuan Erisher looked at Nan Peixian with a provocative gaze. Even if you are a seated player, if you dare to speak rudely, Kuan Erisher will not be polite anymore. Compared with Li Zongjiu, Kuan Erisher is more civilized. If Li Zongjiu is here, then you have no chance at all. You. Nan Peixian was furious. No one has ever dared to talk to him like this. Was Nan Peixian's reputation so useless here? Or did this brat not know how to spell the word death? However, it was not Nan Peixian's turn to get angry. A terrifying lightning bolt immediately lit up on the glass wall of the cockpit. The moment the light appeared, the lightning bolt flashed. It directly illuminated the glass like it was daytime, making people unable to open their eyes. At the same time, a thunderous explosion sounded in their ears. It seemed that the surrounding sea of clouds was also shaken by this wave of fluctuation. Chapter 895. There was almost no need to look. One could already see Li Zongjiu being swallowed by the terrifying lightning. This idiot. Nan Peixian thought in his heart, but he did not say it out loud. Because before he saw Li Zongjiu's corpse, it was better to be safe. If something unexpected happened, wouldn't it be very embarrassing? Moreover, there was a violent Kuan Erisher beside him. This guy, it was hard to say. He would directly raise his fist and attack. Although Nan Peixian's alchemy level was above Kuan Arashi's. But when it came to fighting, he might not be able to beat Kuan Erisher. Nan Peixian did not even kill people because he did not need to do these things. Qi Yanran's body released a force, blocking in front of her, blocking the shock wave in front of her. Even the aftermath of the shock wave consumed a lot of Qi Yanran's strength. Then, Qi Yanran looked at the center of the light ball nervously. The light dissipated. Li Zongjiu was still in the same place, not moving at all. Even the clothes on his body were not damaged at all. This kid must have used some precious protective magic treasure. Nan Peixian thought in his heart. If an ordinary person was struck by the black cloud wind thunder, how could they still be alive and still be able to breathe? However, Zhou Zheng and Chu Tai Ran's eyes flashed with a light. Most of their energy was focused on Li Zongjiu. After all, Li Zongjiu was the star of this competition. No, he was the trump card. If something were to happen to Li Zongjiu, this grand competition would most likely be over. With Nan Peixian's ability, in fact, in the Shengyan dynasty, there were at least 10 people who were more powerful than him. All they knew was how to brag all day long, and they couldn't do anything serious. This was because the influence of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion was too low, and they couldn't attract any real alchemy tycoons to join them. If these people were willing to join the Heavenly Pill Pavilion, then the alchemy industry of the dynasty would definitely develop by leaps and bounds. Nowadays, these pill tycoons all kept their own set of methods, thinking that they were the best and that everyone else was a pile of shit. That was why they were hindering the development of the pill industry. All their hopes were placed on Li Zongjiu. He wanted these people to see the glory that belonged to the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. At the same time, he wanted them to pay attention to the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. They only needed to get back a place or participate in an extremely important battle. At the very least, he could be considered gold-plated. Just now, when he saw Li Zongjiu's situation, he was also paying close attention to it. After all, this Li Zongjiu was in such a dangerous situation, and he had such a high position. No one could understand why he was doing this. Just now, Li Zongjiu's body didn't have any other yuan power fluctuations. He used his own body to withstand this move. The terrifying black cloud of wind and thunder fell. However, it didn't bring any harm to Li Zongjiu. No one dared to believe their own eyes, but Li Zongjiu felt an extremely comfortable feeling. When the strength of one's muscles and bones became extremely strong, it would be very difficult to move them again. When the black cloud of wind and thunder fell, Li Zongjiu also felt the long-lost feeling of moving his muscles and bones. There were also crackling sounds coming from his body. It seemed that there were bursts of thunderous sounds coming from his body. Qi Yanran's eyes revealed a look of astonishment. She only knew that Li Zongjiu was tough, but she didn't expect that Li Zongjiu was tough to this extent. Using the black cloud of wind and thunder to temper his body was absolutely unprecedented. As for whether there would be others who did it later, that was another story. After that, the range of the black cloud of wind and thunder became a little smaller, but the black cloud of wind and thunder fell one after another. For the current Li Zongjiu, it was just like scratching an itch. Immediately, Li Zongjiu stood up angrily and rushed towards the high ground in front of him. Boom! When everyone saw Li Zongjiu's actions, they even felt that their hearts were about to be unable to bear it. Chu Tai Ran was already an old man, but he had never seen such a reckless person. He actually took the initiative to rush into the black clouds of wind and thunder. That kid's brain can't really be damaged, right? At this moment, Nan Peixian also stared blankly at Li Zongjiu, who rushed out. He never thought that someone would do such a stupid thing. It was like someone directly jumping into the crater of a volcano. Even if he had 100 lives, it wouldn't be enough. But even so, there was no chance to stop Li Zongjiu. He could only watch Li Zongjiu rush into the black cloud of wind and thunder. At this moment, the people on the airship and the corvette not far away were all stunned. The black cloud of wind and thunder gathered here, forming a gate of hell. It has been hundreds of years. After all, it was a force formed between heaven and earth, so no one had ever investigated the cause of the formation of the black cloud of wind and thunder. But every time when it was discovered, it was very cautious because the black cloud of wind and thunder were flowing. But this time, it was extremely abnormal, as if it was coming for them. Isn't this guy a little too fierce? Ling Yan also glanced at the figure that disappeared into the black clouds and murmured. Intense light immediately flickered within the storm of black clouds. The sudden increase in rumbling sounds also caused one to feel overwhelmed. It was as though 100,000 drums were beating beside one's ears. That majestic and powerful energy repeatedly penetrated one's chest. Zhou Zhang's eyes stared at the clouds. At the beginning, everyone was very worried that Li Zongjiu would turn into a charred corpse and fall from the sky. But later, the flashing and exploding sound became more and more frequent, and everyone got used to it. In the end, they became numb. What kind of person could withstand the power of the black cloud of wind and thunder in this lightning pool? He was simply a real humanoid beast. Nan Peixian now knew Li Zongjiu's strength. Therefore, he did not dare to say anything bad about Li Zongjiu, but in his heart, he hoped that Li Zongjiu's strength would be exhausted and he would be struck to death by the lightning. Even a third-grade Yuan Huang would not be able to withstand so many black cloud of wind and thunder. Zhou Zhang said in a deep voice. Li Zongjiu's strength was too monstrous. At this moment, the black cloud of wind and thunder gradually dispersed, and Li Zongjiu's figure landed safely on the heavenly pill pavilion. Looking at Li Zongjiu's leisurely stroll, it was as if he had taken a stroll in the garden outside. At the same time, his face was filled with joy, as if something happy had happened. Chapter 896. When Li Zongjiu returned to the heavenly elixir pavilion, Chu Tairan and Zhou Zheng rushed out almost at the same time. They almost reached out and strangled Li Zongjiu on the spot. "Kid, what are you trying to do? If you die, wouldn't our efforts be in vain?" Chu Tairan roared. He had never cooperated with such an unruly person before. Chu Tairan might be confident, but Chu Tairan wasn't. Moreover, wouldn't such a risky move scare them to death? Too reckless. That black cloud storm is so dangerous. Zhou Zheng also muttered. In response, Li Zongjiu just cupped his hands. "Sorry, I haven't had a breakthrough for a long time. I just happened to see the wind and thunder. My heart itched, so I came to practice," Li Zongjiu said. The two stared at Li Zongjiu. At the same time, they were also surprised by Li Zongjiu's strength. He was really powerful to be able to disperse the black cloud storm. Now, even Zhou Zheng didn't know what level Li Zongjiu was at. He was so fierce every time. It was hard to estimate and predict. However, Chu Tairan was overjoyed. The stronger Li Zongjiu was, the greater the advantage he could get in this competition. If he could get the first place in this Three Dynasties elixir gathering, Chu Tairan already had a feeling in his heart. Since the black cloud storm had disappeared, the airship naturally continued to move forward. It was better to leave this place with such a changeable climate as soon as possible. Seeing that there was a fierce person like Li Zongjiu in this team who could withstand the thunder and lightning, some people became very low-key. This was because compared to their ability, Li Zongjiu was stronger. This was almost unreasonable. He was really too powerful. The most honest was Nan Peixian. When he saw Li Zongjiu's ability, Nan Peixian knew that if he and Li Zongjiu were to clash under normal circumstances, the one who would suffer would definitely be him. Right now, he did not have many helpers, and the upper echelons of the Heavenly Dan Pavilion seemed to favor Li Zongjiu more. If anything were to happen, he would definitely help Li Zongjiu instead of himself. Therefore, if he really wanted to get back at them, he would have to do it on the alchemy platform. He would use his own alchemy skills to defeat Li Zongjiu, and then tell Li Zongjiu who was the real king. Nan Peixian was wholeheartedly thinking about how to defeat Li Zongjiu, but Li Zongjiu simply didn't care about this insignificant Nan Peixian. He never put this kid in his eyes. Li Zongjio seemed to finally know how to enjoy himself. He actually walked into the reading room and began to look for some books to read. Xia Wanji and Yu Xian were also in the reading room. There were 4 tables in the reading room, and Yu Xian and Xia Wanji occupied one of them. Li Zongjio naturally walked to the side and sat down at another table. After the soul-stirring scene just now, it was obvious that the two of them were very curious about Li Zongjio. At this moment, seeing Li Zongjio taking the initiative to come here, they also thought that he wouldn't want to strike up a conversation with the two of them. There were only 4 of them in this trip. Ling Yan was Li Zongjio's homeroom teacher. Since he was the homeroom teacher, Ling Yan would at least be a little more reserved. If this teacher-student relationship was spread out, it would damage his image. In addition, Qi Yanran seemed to be acquainted with Li Zongjio. The two of them should be good friends before, but Li Zongjio didn't look for Qi Yanran, but deliberately walked into the reading room and sat down. There must be a reason. Sure enough, all men were the same. Xia Wanji thought in her heart. As the granddaughter of the imperial family's chief alchemist, Xia Wanji's status could be imagined. She must be a delicious cake in the city. Countless people wanted to get close to her. If they could pluck Xia Wanji, the flower of the imperial family, then they wouldn't have to worry about medicinal pills for the rest of their life. Although there were many young talents in the city, there were only a few who could make Xia Wanji nod her head. Yu Xian didn't seem to be very sensitive to these things, but in Yu Xian's heart, she still had some confidence in herself. Her appearance was petite and cute, and most boys liked to dress like this. Moreover, Yu Xian was also among these people. Her age was relatively young, only 16 years old. Li Zongjio should be 17 years old this year. But with his appearance and many deeds, it was impossible to tell. This was a person who was only 17 years old. However, Li Zongjio sat in his seat and flipped through the book in his hand, looking extremely quiet. His whole person was like a wooden stake rooted to the ground. Only the rustling of the pages in his hand could be heard. The 3 of them also sat in their seats and read the book. Xia Wanji couldn't believe it. Li Zongjio sat there motionless, and there were already 10 books piled up beside him. However, in just 3 hours, Li Zongjio seemed to be engrossed in the book in his hand and didn't care about the outside world. We're in the Haiku dynasty. Yu Xian looked at the scene outside the window and said with great surprise. Even the disciples of these big clans rarely left the Shengyan dynasty's territory. Most of them would only stay in their own cities, or at most move within the region. Going out was still risky for them. If something happened, there was no way to guarantee their safety. Moreover, this land outside the Shengyan dynasty's territory was already outside the Shengyan dynasty's territory. Naturally, there would be a lot of restrictions on them. If they left the Shengyan dynasty's territory, it would be impossible for them to do anything. If something happened, they could only solve it themselves. If they really encountered danger, they would most likely die. However, the Haiku dynasty's Black River Pill Hall was obviously in place. Although the Heavenly Pill Pavilion was just established not long ago, at least they had to give face to the Shengyan dynasty. Just as the Heavenly Pill Pavilion entered the territory, a battleship appeared in the sky and approached the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. The 2 frigates immediately became nervous. Chu Tairan made a gesture. These people in front of him were all sent by the Black River Pill Hall. Black River Pill Hall's Deputy Hall Master, Xuezong Hai, welcomed the Heavenly Pill Pavilion's alchemy friends. The other party's battleship did not continue to approach, but a person appeared on the deck of the ship. This person was wearing a black robe. The black robe's sleeves were embroidered with 6 stars. A 6th-grade alchemist. They sent a 6th-grade alchemist. The Black River Pill Hall not only wanted to show their respect, but also to demonstrate their power. These were all their usual methods and tricks. Chu Tairan did not feel uncomfortable at all. Because Chu Tairan himself was also a 6th-grade alchemist. Thank you, Deputy Hall Master Shui. I am Chu Tairan, the Deputy Hall Master of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. Deputy Hall Master Chu, please. Chu Tairan and Zhou Jing boarded the other party's ship. The Heavenly Pill Pavilion was handed over to Su Sha to manage. The rest of the people also stayed on their ships. After all, these 2 people were the higher-ups. Moreover, this was a competition. It was better for the participants not to show up if it was not necessary. It was always good to keep some sense of mystery. Chapter 897. The Black River Pill Hall's flying boat was right beside the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. Li Zongjiu could see the other party's warship from his window. It was almost twice the size of the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion. Furthermore, it seemed to be of better quality. Although the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion was not the best item in the Saint Flame dynasty, at least it was not too embarrassing. However, in front of the Black River Pill Hall's flying boat, it paled in comparison. It was like an adult taking a child for a stroll. The flying boat moved forward slowly. Li Zongjiu took a glance and retracted his gaze. He read a lot of books in one night and absorbed a lot of information. However, he did not find the answer he wanted. What are you looking for? Xia Wanji did not know where she got the courage to ask Li Zongjiu. In Xia Wanji's opinion, this was an extremely cheap action. However, she saw Li Zongjiu reading quickly the whole night. His face did not look happy at all. Instead, there was a serious expression between his eyebrows that did not change at all. This was because he had not solved some mystery. That was why there was such an expression. Well, I have some information about the Black Cloud Storm now. Li Zongjiu said. There were many benefits to reading books occasionally. Li Zongjiu had read a lot of books in his previous life. If he wanted to survive, not only did he need to have a big fist, he also needed to have a wide range of knowledge. Otherwise, many times, they would be killed without knowing why. Li Zongjiu walked around the Black Cloud Storm before, but he encountered something incredible. Li Zongjiu also spent a lot of effort to subdue this thing. Therefore, he wanted to find out more about the Black Cloud Storm. After all, this reading room was on the flying boat. Therefore, a lot of books were about weather, geography, and so on. Li Zongjiu found some key information from these books. However, there was not much information about the Black Cloud Storm. As for what was hidden in the dark storm, there was even less information that could be used to identify it. The Black Cloud Storm is just a kind of gathering of energy between heaven and earth. However, if you want to talk about the formation of the Black Cloud Storm above the Blackwater Forest, there is a legend. As for whether it is accurate or not, I don't know. Xia Wanji did not think that what Li Zongjiu cared about was actually the Black Cloud Storm that he himself had gone through. There were many forbidden zones between heaven and earth. As long as one trespassed into these forbidden zones, one would be turned back into the origin energy of heaven and earth, and become a part of heaven and earth again. Obviously, the Black Cloud Storm was one of them. However, the formation of the Black Cloud Storm at the edge of the Blackwater Forest was extremely special. Logically speaking, there shouldn't be any storms in the vicinity of the Blackwater Forest. However, the Black Cloud Storm was like a bandit that occupied this part of the sky. Moreover, it didn't disperse all year round. Almost everyone who passed through here would encounter the Black Cloud Storm. More often than not, it would naturally form a storm of black clouds. Tell me. Li Zongjiu said. Xia Wanji did not think that Li Zongjiu's purpose would be so clear and simple. It seemed that he had no interest in women at all. It was simply a joke. Could it be that this beauty had to talk about the weather here without anything else to say? Of course, Xia Wanji was not that superficial. She was not here to prove her charm. She simply wanted to make friends with Li Zongjiu. Hence, she began to talk tirelessly. Li Zongjiu learned quite a bit of information from Xia Wanji's mouth. This was something that happened before the establishment of the three great dynasties. In short, it was a story of a life and death battle between an expert who had cultivated lightning attribute yuan energy to the extreme and an expert who had cultivated wind attribute yuan energy to the extreme. These two great gods fought until the sky was dark and the earth was dark. Later, their blood was spilled and nurtured an entire black water forest. Furthermore, the lightning attribute expert's last breath also became a black cloud storm. It's that simple. Li Zongjiu listened to this story. It was already so common that it seemed to be a mess. Only those who specialized in talking nonsense would write these things to sell for money. However, Li Zongjiu also knew that there was more or less a connection between the two. It's that simple. We're here. How long did it take for them to arrive at Black River City? Li Zongjiu took a glance. The reason why they were flying so fast was not because of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. It was because of the large flying boat opposite them. It seemed that the flying boat's facilities were obviously more complete. At the same time, it could also fly. Usually, this large flying boat would be able to carry 2 or even 3 flying boats. Its speed would be twice or even thrice the original speed. In the Haiku dynasty's territory, there were naturally bandits and the like. However, this was the flying boat of the Black River Pill Hall. The influence of the Black River Pill Hall in the Haiku dynasty was far greater than the influence of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion in the Shengyan dynasty. In terms of the grandeur of the capital, the Sacred Flame Imperial City was slightly more majestic. However, the Haiku dynasty seemed to have a stronger foundation. In the central area, there were some ancient buildings that were still preserved. There were historical experiences and foundations in them. Some new buildings were built in the surroundings. There were also many flying boats coming and going. It seemed that they were very confident in their safety. At the same time, these flying boats were flying in the sky in an orderly manner. Li Zongjiu had seen the Shengyan dynasty 3,000 years in the future. Compared to the present, there weren't many changes. Many things were directly upgraded, and the level was not the same as before. For example, the Haiku dynasty. He didn't know where they got so many fancy ideas. If he stayed in the Haiku dynasty, he could hear the roar of the flying boat almost every day. It seemed that the people of the Haiku dynasty moved around more frequently. Even the flying boat business was extremely busy. When the flying boat of the Black River Pill Hall arrived, the flying boats in front automatically opened up a path for them. They flew to both sides in an orderly manner. The flying boat of the Black River Pill Hall landed on an extremely vast flying boat plaza. The flying boat must take off and land at a fixed location in the city. You can also leave the flying boat here. There will be someone to look after it. Xuezhanghai said. Some large flying boats didn't have the function of storing things. After all, there wasn't such a big spatial tool to store things. Hence, it was normal for them to park here. In that case, let's park the flying boat here. Chu Tairan said. My disciple will bring your people to check in. You and I have to have a good drink. Tomorrow, when the people of the Heavenly Flame Pill Palace arrive, we'll hold an opening ceremony together. Xuezhanghai pulled Chu Tairan's hand and said. Wen Feng, I'll leave these people to you. They're all distinguished guests from the Heavenly Flame dynasty. Don't neglect them. Yes, Master. Chapter 898. In fact, although there were many dangers in the outside world, they weren't everywhere. Just like the people in front of them, they didn't arrive at the Black Chu royal city unscathed. Ordinary people wouldn't dare to provoke them here as they represented the Shengyan dynasty. The officials of the Haiku dynasty also needed to take care of them. If someone dared to cause trouble here, it would be equivalent to provoking the two dynasties. If you really had that kind of strength, you could do it. Su Sha brought Li Zongjiu and the others down from the airship and saw the disciples of the Black Chu Pill Hall waiting for them. The leader of the group was a handsome man with distinct facial features. The corners of his mouth curved into a smile, giving people a feeling of ease and trust. Jin Wenfeng waved his hand at Su Sha, who was leading the way. "Welcome to the Black Chu Royal City. I am Jin Wenfeng from the Black Chu Pill Hall. Everyone, don't worry. Everything in the city will be handled by the Black Chu Pill Hall. If you have any needs, you can tell me." Jin Wenfeng said with a smile. "Hello, I am Su Sha from the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. I am the one in charge this time. I will have to trouble you guys," Su Sha said. Naturally, these words were enough to convince them. Of course, Su Sha wouldn't introduce the people behind her to the people in front of her. These were all confidential information until now. Jin Wenfeng's eyes swept across the people in front of him. Then, he turned around and led everyone to the inn where they were staying. "This guy is called Jin Wenfeng. I heard that he is also one of the main contestants this time. Moreover, his strength isn't simple," Ling Yan said in a low voice. Of course, these words were directed at Kun Erisher and another disciple of the Heavenly Star Medicine Hall. This disciple of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion was called Zhu Xiao. They had met before. He was a new student that was just recruited this year. He was also a ruthless person. He had fought with Kun Erisher before. Although Kun Erisher won by luck, Kun Erisher could feel that Zhu Xiao was still holding back. He was just giving some face to his senior. At the same time, he also became a first-year student of the Heavenly STEM department. In any case, after setting a precedent, they directly let Ling Yan continue to be the class teacher. In the end, there were only a total of 3 people in the 2 grades. Li Zongjiu was basically just a name. It seemed that the rules and regulations of this Heavenly Star Medicine Manor were completely useless to Li Zongjiu. 5 stars, this guy is a 5th grade alchemist. Zhu Xiao glanced at Jin Wenfeng's sleeve. The pressure of a 5th grade alchemist was extremely great. Among the people from the Heavenly Pill Pavilion, these level 5 alchemists were the main contestants. However, this Ling Yan was only at the middle stage of grade 5. He didn't know what level the other party's strength was at, but it was definitely a very strong opponent. When Li Zongjiu was walking, he was also thinking about something with his head lowered. He did not pay attention to the people in front of him. Since there was someone leading the way, he would just walk with his head lowered. "Hey, Li Zongjiu, what do you think of this Jin Wenfeng's strength? Can you handle him?" Ling Yan knew Li Zongjiu's strength, so he also went forward to ask. In the whole team, Li Zongjiu and Qi Yanran were walking at the back. Kun Erisher and Zhu Xiao followed behind Ling Yan. "What?" Li Zongjiu heard Ling Yan calling him, but he didn't hear what she said clearly. Ling Yan repeated it again. "He's just a 5th grade alchemist," Li Zongjiu said faintly and continued to enter a state of dissociation. The reason why Qi Yanran followed Li Zongjiu was that she was afraid that Li Zongjiu would suddenly bump into someone's stall. Jin Wenfeng, who was walking at the front, chatted with Su Sha next to him, while also focusing his attention on the beautiful women behind him. It must be said that the Shengyan dynasty was closer to the east, so they specially produced some eastern beauties. Anyone who saw them would be extremely happy. After seeing these beautiful eastern beauties, Jin Wenfeng also wanted to know how charming he was among these people. Jin Wenfeng naturally enjoyed beauties in the Haiku dynasty, but he had not tasted the beauties of other dynasties. Although he just glanced at them, he still remembered them. The small, delicate and cute girl was more in line with Jin Wenfeng's taste. Imagine, when such a lovely beauty was in his arms, that kind of feeling. Just when Jin Wenfeng was fantasizing in his heart, he suddenly heard a voice coming into his ears. Just a 5th grade alchemist. Who was so arrogant? It was extremely difficult to become a fifth-grade alchemist, no matter where it was. Becoming a fifth-grade alchemist at such a young age was naturally an extremely proud thing. Even the master praised Jin Wenfeng, saying that he was a genius that appeared once in 100 years. Even compared to Long Xian, he was already in a state of being comparable. Long Xian's advantage was that they were blessed by some extreme elixirs since they were young, so they were so powerful. If they were in a normal state, then no one would be more powerful. Jin Wenfeng had secretly remembered the appearance of that kid in his heart. When the time comes, he would naturally find this kid to settle the account. It was better to not make a move first and stay calm. The inn they stayed in was also famous in this city, and now the entire building was requisitioned by the Haiku Pill Hall. They didn't even need to pay, this inn was also happily welcoming the arrival of these people. I'm going to prepare to welcome the people of the Heavenly Flame Pill Palace. Someone will send you the information and itinerary of this competition later. All the expenses in the inn are free, everyone can enjoy to their heart's content. Jin Wenfeng said. Su Sha expressed her gratitude once again. After Jin Wenfeng left, Su Sha also distributed the room keys in her hand to everyone. 1 room per person. Now, everyone is free to move around, but it's best not to go out. In addition, gather here at 9 o'clock in the evening. After receiving the information, we need to make some arrangements. When saying this, Su Sha also specially glanced at Li Zongjiu, who was behind the crowd. After all, most of the people were young. When they went out, they still had a sense of collective honor. More or less, they wanted to win glory for their own dynasty, and also for their own family. If they were driven back halfway, it would be an extremely shameful thing. Li Zongjiu was the only one who would never play his cards according to the rules. Li Zongjiu was the only one who would always cause trouble. Therefore, he had to find a place to stop this kid. But along the way, Li Zongjiu was surprisingly quiet. When Li Zongjiu raised his head, Su Sha didn't know if she saw wrongly, but there seemed to be a flash of lightning in Li Zongjiu's eyes. Chapter 899. Li Zongjiu obtained an incredible treasure from the storm of black clouds. Even Li Zongjiu had never seen such a weapon in his previous life. It seemed to be a force born in the chaos. It was natural, but it had a different appearance. Its appearance was like an iron hammer, but this hammer did not have any feeling of being connected. It looked like it was born with this appearance. When Li Zongjiu obtained this weapon, he did not refine it. It seemed that this thing took the initiative to enter his body. Therefore, Li Zongjiu carefully searched for some information about this hammer. However, the books on the airship were obviously relatively few. This could not solve Li Zongjiu's doubts. Later, after listening to Xia Wanji's story, Li Zongjiu also guessed the origin of this hammer. This was at least a weapon of the ancient demon race. And judging from the aura it produced, it seemed to be a weapon of the demon race. Where the weapon came from did not have much impact on Li Zongjiu. He had long seen through the difference between good and evil. For him, as long as he had a weapon in his hand, he could use it. As long as the weapon could help him kill people, it was a good weapon, a weapon that was truly handy. Until just now, Li Zongjiu finally refined this devil hammer. In the spiritual hell, Li Zongjiu's mental strength could be said to be ravaged. Under the tenacious resistance of the devil hammer, Li Zongjiu's mental strength was constantly struggling. Fortunately, this devil hammer had been far from its peak for a long time. Its combat strength was not as good as before, so it was finally refined by Li Zongjiu. Now, he couldn't wait to try out the power of this devil hammer. Li Zongjiu happened to look up at Su Sha. Su Sha said that he could move freely. Li Zongjiu's heart moved. I'm going out for a stroll. Li Zongjiu said. Su Sha had just finished telling him not to run around when Li Zongjiu rushed out of the door. He was afraid that Li Zongjiu would not be able to find his way back. This place was not like Holy Flame Royal City. In the Haiku dynasty, it was best to keep a low profile. I'll go watch him. Koen Arashir threw a glance at the anxious Su Sha. Hearing Koen Arashi's words, Su Sha directly rolled her eyes at him. Why are you still looking at him? It's already great that you don't associate with him. But comparatively speaking, Koen Arashir was more reliable. Although Qi Yanran said that she had feelings for Li Zongjio, now she only regarded Li Zongjio as an ordinary friend. It was impossible for her to chase after him directly if something happened. Wouldn't it seem that she was throwing herself at him? As a girl, she still had this bit of restraint. So Qi Yanran directly went back to her room to rest. Coincidentally, the person living in the opposite room was Nan Peixian. But Nan Peixian remembered the previous scene. Even if he knew that Qi Yanran was living opposite him, he did not do anything excessive. If that kid found an excuse, he did not know what would happen to him. So Nan Peixian had to be honest. If there was a chance, he would go and get close to Xie Wanji first. This girl seemed to have a slight chance. If she really succeeded, then Nan Peixian would naturally have a good time. In the Haiku dynasty, martial arts were popular. The strong were respected, and there was a little bit of violence in their bones. They liked to fight, and there would be blood when they fought. In the Haiku royal city, the most popular place was the arena. It was similar to underground boxing, but the life and death battles of these Yuan practitioners were directly taken out and became a pastime for people to watch. There were arenas of all sizes. In addition to watching, there would also be peripheral gambling. Some people liked to gamble, and some people simply liked to watch. Even if it was just selling tickets, it could be considered as making a lot of money. And for those who participated in the competition, there were also very generous rewards. Hell Tower. It was one of the 3 major arenas in the Haiku royal city. The Hell Tower had a total of 18 floors. Every season, there would be a competition for the title of King of Hell. If one won 18 rounds in a row, they would be able to take away 10 million purple yuan, and at the same time, there would be elixirs and vitality stones. The rewards were very generous. However, if you lost a round, you might directly lose your life. Moreover, the arenas were also divided into different levels. No matter what level the arena was, it was extremely intense. Even if the opponent's strength was slightly weaker than yours, they would often have some extremely terrifying explosive moves that could directly defeat you. So no matter what the situation was, one could not be careless. I want to sign up for the Yuan King level arena. Li Zongjio arrived at the Hell Tower arena with ease. The Shengyan dynasty currently did not have a place similar to this kind of life and death battle arena. After all, the dynasty had just been established, and there were many things waiting to be done. This kind of crazy internal consumption had to be delayed and should not be rushed. 100 purple yuan for the registration fee. At the registration window was a fat woman, expressionlessly tapping on something similar to an abacus in her hand. After Li Zongjio paid the purple yuan, the fat woman made a sign and handed it to Li Zongjio. Is there an opponent now? Li Zongjio asked. The arena challenge was one that one had to take the initiative to apply for it. After you submitted your registration, there would be an opponent of the same level who would fight with you. If you won, you would be promoted to the next level. For example, Li Zongjio currently had 0 wins, so he would be matched with some opponents who had 0 wins. The calculation of wins was also very interesting. 1 win and 1 loss, 2 wins and 2 losses, all belonged to 0 wins. If it became a negative number, then one would have to pay the registration fee again. A win would add 1 point, and a loss would correspondingly reduce 1 point. Yes, a lot. Do you want to challenge now? The fat woman flipped through the information card in her hand. Li Zongjio said, of course. Thus, a match with 0 wins would begin in 10 minutes. This kind of beginner-level competition would not have many spectators. It would only appear on some gambling tables. Unless both of them had at least some popularity, people would not easily pay the bill. Crazy Tail, you are really lucky. You actually got a fair and tender newcomer. In a resting area. These people who specialized in competition for a living, besides competing, would rest or cultivate here. After receiving a match, it was convenient for them to directly participate in the competition. The person called Crazy Tail in front of him opened his eyes. A long scar extended from his left eye to the right corner of his mouth. Chapter 901. Crazy Tail had already participated in 22 rounds of a Yuan Monarch level competition and had yet to win a single round. It was unknown if he was lacking in strength or if he was deliberately maintaining such a record. In the Yuan Monarch level competition, winning a round would earn 10,000 purple yuan as a reward. Losing a round would not result in a deduction of money. However, one's life would be in danger. It was impossible to find a few companions and use the method of throwing the match to obtain the competition's rewards. This was because the matches on the list were all random. Or rather, it was intentionally arranged by the people in the arena. It was almost impossible to gather all of them together. If one did such a thing, it would be considered a scam. It was one thing to use such a method elsewhere, but to use it here, one had to say that he was simply courting death. There were plenty of people in the arena and there were plenty of ways to deal with one. Therefore, there was no need to be delusional about playing tricks in such a place. Crazy Tail had been able to survive 22 rounds, which showed his strength. At the very least, he would not die so easily. Plus, Crazy Tail seemed to be using this method to make money. Crazy Tail had originally planned to get 10,000 purple yuan for each victory. However, after more than a month, Crazy Tail had only earned 110,000 purple yuan. This was still far from what Crazy Tail wanted. It seemed like he had to continue winning if he wanted to really make a big profit. Therefore, today would be the day of Crazy Tail's breakthrough. A terrifying aura condensed. There were only life and death in the arena. There were no rules. Therefore, no matter what the situation was, as long as one could win, there would be no problem. Crazy Tail's weapon was a curved scimitar. It looked like a foreign weapon, but Crazy Tail's curved scimitar was executed with a set of very powerful blade techniques. When Crazy Tail stepped into the arena, there were only a few people present. These were just spectators. Some of them were here specifically to measure the combat strength of the big boss and select some people with potential. Some of them were also here to sweep the floor of the arena and clean up the bloodstains. They were waiting for the people on the arena to finish their matches before going on stage to clean up. Standing opposite Crazy Tail, because the surrounding lights were too bright, he couldn't see clearly from far away. Only when he got closer did he see that his opponent was just a teenager. Looking at her, her skin was soft and tender. He should be a young master of some clan. How could he grow into an iron-blooded warrior without experiencing the power of blood? If he wanted to go down to the arena to train, his spirit would be very good. Unfortunately, there was only life and death in the arena. Since he had stepped onto the stage, he had to be prepared to be killed at any time. Crazy Tail looked at Li Zongjio. "Kid, today, I will use the most spectacular method to make your blood splatter on the stage. You must remember that you are the first person to die in the hands of me, Crazy Tail. You are also my first step towards the peak." Previously, Mad Tail had been enduring silently. He did not reveal too much of his strength. Now, he wanted to kill Li Zongjio completely. Moreover, he had to use a very dazzling way of fighting. Sometimes, fame could bring him a lot of income. Staying in such a place meant that he had a brush with death every day. He had already had enough. Li Zongjio, who was standing opposite him, did not speak. He was waiting for the referee to start. Even if there were no rules in the arena, there must be a beginning and an end. Both sides are clear about the rules. If your body falls off the stage or your head falls off, you will lose. As for the rest, even if you kneel on the stage and call for your grandfather, you will not be able to win. The referee very vividly explained the rules of the arena. If it was a rookie who had just entered the arena, even if he raised a white flag and surrendered on the stage, it would not count. You must fall off the stage for it to count. That also meant that you must have the strength to withstand the opponent's attack. Otherwise, you will be dealt with on the stage without even having the chance to beg for mercy. Some people came to the arena for money, while others came to the arena purely to kill. Li Zhongjiu did not care too much about the referee's words. He was holding a small black hammer in his hand. It looked just like the Thunder Profound hammer, but it was slightly bigger than the Thunder Profound hammer. It was a devil weapon that he obtained from the Black Cloud Storm. Li Zhongjiu did not study this thing in his previous life, so he was very curious about it now. This level of devil weapon, even in the ancient devil clan, could only be owned by extremely strong experts. The battle begins. After the referee said that, he walked out of the room. After Crazy Tail heard that, the curved blade in his hand appeared, and suddenly, an incomparably bright blade light slashed out. Boom! The blade light whizzed out. The surrounding power seemed to condense as a sharp aura approached Li Zhongjiu. Li Zhongjiu raised his hand. At this moment, the hammer in his hand also smashed down with a whoosh. Rumble. A thunder and lightning directly erupted from the devil hammer in Li Zhongjiu's hand, approaching the front. When the thunder and lightning hit the devil hammer, it also directly hit Crazy Tail in the distance. ZZ. The thick power of thunder and lightning was like a chain, stringing Crazy Tail in front of him. Crazy Tail was directly lifted up from the ground, his body suspended in the air, penetrated by the terrifying power. Li Zhongjiu put down the hammer in his hand. Even Li Zhongjiu himself was surprised by this expression. He did not use much strength, but the hammer was actually so active. When the lightning chains disappeared, Yi Zichen looked at the sky. Crazy Tail's body also fell from the arena. With a bang, he fell to the ground and turned into a pile of carbon powder. Poor Crazy Tail, he was directly killed by Li Zhongjiu before he could figure out the situation. Li Zhongjiu himself was also dumbfounded. He still did not understand the power of the devil hammer, and the Yuan King expert in front of him was directly killed. It seemed that he had to find a more powerful opponent. Li Zhongjiu thought in his heart. Everyone present, including the referee, was extremely shocked and stood rooted to the ground. Instant kill. This was a real instant kill. The opponent fell as soon as he made a move. He was directly killed. Crazy Tail had participated in more than 20 battles, and most of the people were familiar with him, but he was easily killed, which was especially shocking. Chapter 902. Some people were surprised, but some were also pleasantly surprised. The sudden appearance of Li Zhongjiu, whose origin was unknown, and who also possessed formidable strength, made some people who specially came to such a place to hunt for dark horses feel incomparably pleasantly surprised. They had to watch dozens of battles every day. To be honest, not every battle was so exciting. Most of them seemed to follow the prescribed order, rehearsed in advance, and followed the rules very well. There were not too many outstanding aspects. But Li Zhongjiu's appearance was different, and this person found a glimmer of light. This kid, we must pay attention to him. What's his code name? Go quickly, I want all the information about this kid in 3 minutes. Put it in front of me. The group of people began to move. Li Zhongjiu had won this round, and in his identity card, there was an extra 10,000 purple yuan. Compared to the registration fee from before, this was more than enough to cover the cost of the registration fee. It was still very worth it, but some people were not so lucky, such as Mad Tail, who was electrocuted to death before he could figure it out. Those who had fought with Mad Tail before, or those who were in the training ground in the lounge, sighed after seeing Mad Tail's fate. The wheel of fortune had turned a little too fast. The news of Mad Tail's death did not cause much of a wave, but the appearance of a very fierce newcomer in the arena attracted many people's attention. What's that kid's name? There is no information about this person at present. It's like he appeared out of thin air, but some people have analyzed that this kid is not a person from the Haiku dynasty. If you don't know his name, you should at least know his code name. Code name was the name you used in the arena. For example, Mad Tail was a code name. However, whether or not you could be remembered by others would depend on your own ability. Replying to Sir, this person's code name is Evil Lord. When these two words were spoken, they instinctively felt a chill rising from their backs, as if someone was gently sliding an ice-cold sword on their body. It was hair-raising. This kid's guts are too big. When some people heard this codename, they couldn't help but feel a chill from the bottom of their hearts. A person who dared to use this codename was definitely not simple. Not to mention anything else, just the word venerate alone was enough to make one unable to stand it. Humph, this brat has some guts. There's no need to pay attention to him in the future. It won't be long before he dies in the arena. There's no shortage of crazy people in the arena. Moreover, this evil lord is too crazy. Some people who were originally interested in Li Zongjiu also shook their heads. They all thought that this Li Zongjiu would not live for long. A mere rookie dared to be so arrogant, he must be tired of living. There would always be someone who would pick out Li Zongjiu to teach him how to be a person. A big boss of an arena thought to himself. If he were to place a bet on such a person, he would definitely suffer a loss and lose everything. Big boss, breaking news. This brat called Evil Lord has already won 6 matches in a row. Just a moment ago, the big boss was still thinking that this damned evil dominator was so arrogant that he would hear the news of this brat being beaten to death in less than 3 days. However, when this news came, the big boss's heart trembled. The tea that was just at the side of his mouth directly flowed into his mouth with a gudong sound, scalding his entire body. What did you say? 6 matches in a row. If it were any other time, winning 6 matches in a row would not be a big deal. However, in just half an hour, he had already won 6 matches in a row. Was this a joke? Could it be that this was a path paved with money? What's going on? The big boss hurriedly asked. Instant kill, all of them were instant kills. The person who came to report was also filled with shock. He had been active in the arena for a long time, but he had never seen such a thing happen. All 6 matches were instant kills. This was because he had to find someone who had won 7 matches in a row and challenge him. That was why he had the time to come and report this. Otherwise, he would have just continued watching from the sidelines. Originally, it was only 100 people arena. Later on, it was changed to 1,000 people arena, and even a 10,000 people arena. Let's go, quickly bring me there. I want to meet this person and see who exactly he is. Almost all the big bosses who heard the news moved out. If they could find out who this person was in time, it would be an incredible fortune. The upper echelons of the Hell Arena also received the news. In just half an hour, he had won 6 matches in a row, all of which were instant kills. This kind of strength could be said to be shocking. A person like this was either a flash in the pan or an absolute king. Hell Arena, 19th floor office. Hua Ying was one of the people in charge of the Hell Arena. Since Li Zongjiu had already reached the level of the Hell Arena, he would naturally go through Hua Ying's hands. She was a charming young woman dressed in a long robe made of heavenly silk. Her waist was delicate and soft, and her movements were very flirtatious. However, in the Hell Arena, if you were a soft little lamb, you would only be devoured by others. She had reached this point because of this step. Hua Ying had already lost count of the number of wolves that had set their sights on her. Evil Lord. That name is really asking for a beating. The corners of Hua Ying's mouth curled up slightly. She was also very interested in Li Zongjiu's nickname. Ordinary people wouldn't be able to suppress this name. Therefore, Hua Ying had sent people to gather information about Li Zongjiu. However, until now, there was no news about Li Zongjiu. After all, the people from the Sacred Flame Imperial City had come here in secret. Only the people from the Black River Pill Hall knew the exact information. Moreover, the Black River Pill Hall hadn't been able to obtain any information about the participants from the Shengyan dynasty. They only knew that a very famous person called the Ancient One had given up on the competition. No one knew what had caused this. If the Black River Pill Hall, who was in direct contact with the Black River Pill Hall, didn't know about this, then these people were even more clueless. Have you found the person for the 7th match? Hua Ying asked. She wanted to watch the match in person. I found it. A Lei Long with 37 battles experience. Lei Long, 7 victories. 15 losses, 22 victories. To be able to accumulate 7 victories was not an easy feat. Chapter 903. Hua Ying arrived at the arena. Lei Long was the signature of her 10,000-seat arena. He could be considered one of Hua Ying's valiant subordinates. Every time Lei Long entered the arena, the audience would be filled by at least 60%. At least 6,000 people were watching at the same time. This was already an extremely grand scene. However, when Hua Ying arrived at the arena, she was shocked to discover that it was completely packed. Some people were unable to buy tickets, so they directly sat down in the corridor. How could this be? Hua Ying only had the authority to control the 10,000-seat arena. In addition, Lei Long was a valiant existence in the arena of 7 victories. The 10,000-seat arena was already the limit. She never expected the audience to be so enthusiastic today. Although the corridor was already filled with people, there were still people rushing in. My lord, these people are clamoring to come in and watch. We can't stop them. Her subordinate came to report. These people were too enthusiastic. It was as if they were all here to watch this person called Evil Lord insta-kill his opponents. Bloody battles were no longer enough to satisfy the audience. In fact, under such circumstances, they were all looking forward to seeing this godlike suppression. Evil Lord, Li Zongjiu. He stepped onto the arena. A dark red color appeared on the floor. Occasionally, small pieces of flesh would stick to the floor. There was no way to dig them out. Clearly, they had been washed away by blood and flesh for many years. Even when he stepped on it, there was a sticky feeling. It really is a bloody hell. In Li Zongjiu's eyes, he seemed to be able to see many souls entrenched in the arena. These were all left behind by those who had died in the arena. After taking a glance, Li Zongjiu locked his gaze on an iron cage opposite him. His opponent for this round was actually locked in an iron cage. It wasn't an iron cage. Instead, it was a carbon cage that could withstand lightning. This was because this fierce dragon who was about to go on stage had a strange ability. From time to time, he would release some lightning from his body. Even if you were standing next to him and were chatting with him, you would suddenly be struck by the lightning released from his body. Therefore, in order to ensure safety, they used such a carbon cage to isolate it. Lei Long. Lei Long. At least half of the tens of thousands of spectators in the stadium were shouting Lei Long's name. Clearly, Lei Long's battles over the past few days had brought him many fans. Most of the people were here for the lightning dragon. Of course, there was also a portion of them who came for Li Zongjiu. However, they didn't dare to shout out the name of the evil lord so loudly, because this name sounded a little silly. Thinking about it, if you were to loudly call out the name of this evil lord, he would feel as if he had joined some cult. It was said that this evil lord was very powerful. Therefore, many people came to see how long this evil lord could be arrogant. Holding the devil hammer in his hand, Li Zongjiu didn't give this hammer a name. He just called it the Devil Hammer. The graphite cage was opened with a bang. Then, he saw a man who was as strong as a boulder walking out of the cage. As he walked, he could even feel the ground shaking violently. No wonder he was called Lei Long. Li Zongjiu glanced at the ground. There seemed to be a few small electric arcs spread out on the ground. It seemed to spread out from the soles of his feet. So tall. Li Zongjiu looked at the lightning dragon in front of him. His height was close to 2.5 meters. A brown bear standing up was only 3 meters. Compared to humans, the lightning dragon in front of him was very big. When Lei Long walked out, the cheers of the audience almost reached the peak. The whole place was in an uproar. In his previous life, Li Zongjiu didn't have many opportunities to enter this kind of arena. Most of the time, he wandered the wilderness and ambushed people. He wanted to kill people, not compete. No one would be stupid enough to fight to the death with their enemy in this arena. Lei Long was also very excited. He clenched his fist and looked at the small Li Zongjiu opposite him. Lei Long, strictly speaking, was not a free participant. He was nurtured by the Hell Arena itself. He was considered one of its own because sometimes the quality of the participants outside was not necessarily high. In addition, the existence of such people was to prevent some special situations from happening. For example, if a group of people came to swindle someone, these people would be needed to come out and tear the other party to pieces. Before Lei Long went on stage, someone had warned him that Li Zongjiu was very strong. Lei Long's current record was 6 wins. This kind of record, either he spent money to clear the stage, or he really had the strength. Maybe the previous 6 participants were bought by Li Zongjiu, but Lei Long would never be in such a situation. Challenger, Evil Lord, challenges Lei Long. Evil Dominator's record, 6 wins, 6 victories. Lei Long, 37 wins, 22 wins. When the results were reported, some people heard about Li Zongjiu's impressive record, but when they heard it from the judge's mouth, their eyes were still full of shock. 100% win rate. However, in this round, he might not be so lucky. After fighting in this arena for 37 rounds, he was still alive. This was enough to prove his strength. Otherwise, just by fighting in these 37 rounds, he would have met all kinds of enemies who could easily defeat him or even kill him. As long as he was alive, it was enough to prove his strength. The battle begins. The judge shouted loudly. At the scene, there was even a special imaging projection technology. It used a kind of transparent stone with the effect of mirror reflection to create a few clean and bright reflective stone slabs in the scene. The scene appeared on the slabs, and the movements of the 2 people could be clearly seen. Roar! As soon as the judge finished speaking, Lei Long immediately seized the opportunity. With a roar, the muscles on his body instantly blew his clothes away. Thick lightning surged from his body and rushed towards Li Zongjiu like a lightning python. Boom! The violent lightning force rushed towards Li Zongjiu. The speed of the lightning was surprisingly fast. In the blink of an eye, it rushed in front of Li Zongjiu. A man who mastered the power of lightning. When the audience saw this scene, they cheered loudly. Some people even stood up and applauded for Lei Long's terrifying power. Even a 5th-grade Yuan King expert would be directly electrocuted and faint if he encountered the power of lightning. On the other hand, Evil Lord stood in his original position, as if he was scared silly by the huge momentum in front of him. Boom! The lightning instantly struck Li Zongjiu's body. Chapter 904. Li Zongjiu's body was instantly penetrated by the power of lightning. However, Li Zongjiu was still standing in the same spot. Li Zongjiu, who should have been reduced to ashes, was still standing in the same spot. It could be seen that all the power was pouring directly into the hammer in Li Zongjiu's right hand. Zzz. What? Lei Long saw this scene and retracted his hands. He watched Li Zongjiu absorb his lightning. No, to be precise, it was absorbed by the hammer in Li Zongjiu's hand. What kind of hammer is that? Lei Long suddenly said in surprise. However, Li Zongjiu did not answer Lei Long's question. Since Lei Long had already made his move, Li Zongjiu naturally would not be polite. He raised the devil hammer in his hand and suddenly smashed it on the ground. Boom! The domineering power of thunder and lightning surged forward in an instant. Lei Long did not have time to react. He was directly lifted up by the power of lightning in front of him. His whole body was suspended in mid-air. Everyone could see that the power of lightning was constantly pouring into his body. Hua! When the crowd saw this scene, an uproar broke out. They had never seen such a ferocious scene. That lightning energy had directly sent the lightning dragon flying. Immediately, Lei Long's body was directly paralyzed in the air, unable to move. However, Li Zongjiu was surprised this time because Lei Long's body in front of him did not directly turn into a pile of charcoal. Instead, he was sent out of the arena by the power of lightning and fell to the ground with a bang. Lei Long's body was directly stiff on the ground. He did not die, but his body was emitting pitch-black smoke. It seemed that he was at least seriously injured. Even such a powerful Lei Long was directly killed by this evil lord. After a moment of silence, thunderous applause and cheers immediately rang out from the audience. However, Li Zongjiu did not stay in the same place to enjoy the applause. After all, Li Zongjiu wasn't really here to participate in such a competition and win some generous prize money. Currently, Li Zongjiu's Hell Arena account had a total of 280,000 purple yuan. If he took it out, Li Zongjiu would instantly become a real millionaire. Unfortunately, this money was nothing to Li Zongjiu. Moreover, Li Zongjiu did not come here for the money. Call this kid to my office. Hua Ying saw Li Zongjiu's potential at first glance. If such a person could not become popular, then what kind of person could be successful? He was simply helping her to make money. Just thinking about it made her very happy. With Hua Ying's sharp eyes, if she made good use of Li Zongjiu, not only would Li Zongjiu's reputation reach a peak, but the fame and resources under Hua Ying's hands would also increase rapidly. Therefore, this was a win-win situation. Hua Ying also had some status in the Hell Arena. With her status, inviting Li Zongjiu to come was also giving Li Zongjiu face. Talking about cooperation with Li Zongjiu was definitely an honor for Li Zongjiu. Therefore, after saying those words, Hua Ying returned to her office and waited for Li Zongjiu to come. Everyone knew that once one was chosen by these managers, there would be countless ways to make money. Hua Ying acted quickly. If she had been a little slower, Li Zongjiu might have been poached by someone else. Naturally, she would not allow such a thing to happen. Originally, Li Zongjiu wanted to continue the challenge. However, when he looked at the clock hanging on the wall, his heart trembled. If he remembered correctly, it should be time for the assembly. After all, it was not like the past when he could walk around as he pleased. When he went out, he still had to follow the rules. Just as Li Zongjiu was about to leave, several people who claimed to be from the Hell Arena blocked Li Zongjiu's path. Manager Hua Ying invites you to her office for a chat. The few people blocking the road seemed to be afraid that Li Zongjiu would run away. They actually surrounded Li Zongjiu, which immediately made Li Zongjiu frown. The leader of the group had both hands on his belt. One hand was holding his belt while the other was looking at Li Zongjiu in front of him. It could be said that he was very arrogant. These people were all Hua Ying's subordinates. They were the managers. When they looked at these people who came to participate in the Hell Arena competition, it was as if they were looking at merchandise. They were even some cheap fighting tools. There was no difference between them and wild beasts. Naturally, they did not need to be too polite. After all, these people did not have long lifespans. In addition, this was their home ground. In their own territory, what was there to be afraid of? Get lost. I'm in a hurry. Li Zongjiu said. Not to mention these people's attitude, even if they were respectful, Li Zongjiu would not go with them. He was in a hurry. Li Zongjiu actually treated them with such an attitude. Immediately, the few people who came to stop him felt as if they were going to explode in anger. You're courting death, kid. One of them directly pressed his hand on Li Zongjiu's shoulder, trying to control Li Zongjiu. Who would have thought that the moment he touched Li Zongjiu, a series of crackling lightning bolts flew out, hitting all the people around him. Li Zongjiu did not even take the initiative to attack. Immediately, these people all fell to the ground with a few thuds. Their bodies were charred black by the lightning, and smoke rose from them. Li Zongjiu was not ready to make a move. It seemed that the devil hammer had added a layer of lightning defense to himself. An ordinary touch would be fine, but if one were to make any aggressive or threatening actions, it would directly trigger the lightning defense. He lifted his feet and stepped over these people. These people said that they wanted to see Li Zongjiu, but they did not attract Li Zongjiu's interest. If they wanted to cooperate with him, then they should take the initiative to see Li Zongjiu. He returned to the inn. Breeze and Moon Inn. Li Zongjiu glanced at the inn signboard, then took out his room number. After matching the name, he walked in. I've been walking around the streets for more than 10 times, but I didn't see you. Where did you go? Kuan Erishur saw Li Zongjiu walk in and was immediately surprised. Before he left, he told Su Sha that he would find Li Zongjiu. In the end, he wandered around aimlessly for half a day and did not even see a hair on Li Zongjiu. I went to fight a few battles. Li Zongjiu said as he stretched his shoulders. Damn it. After fighting a few battles, Li Zongjiu did not waste any energy at all. However, Li Zongjiu now knew that even a casual blow from the devil hammer could kill a grade 6 Yuan monarch. Furthermore, the devil hammer was a chain attack. It was the kind that could spread from 1 person to 10, and from 10 to 100. Chapter 905. You didn't go out and cause any trouble, did you? Su Sha saw Li Zongjiu come back and looked at the time. He was actually so punctual. Could it be that Li Zongjiu caused some trouble outside? What trouble can I cause? Li Zongjiu said with an innocent face. Qi Yanran and the others also sat down. Coincidentally, there was a seat next to Qi Yanran, so Li Zongjiu took the opportunity to sit down. At the door, Ling Yan walked in with Zhu Xiao. Looking at Zhu Xiao's expression, he seemed to be exhausted as if he had been caught to refine 20 furnaces of elixirs. Ling Yan's face was full of satisfaction. Yanran, when I was shopping just now, I saw that this is very suitable for you. Think about it. When the time comes, come to our Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. You also know that Li Zongjiu is also from our Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. Ling Yan grabbed Qi Yanran's hand and then stuffed an exquisite small gift box to Qi Yanran. This sudden enthusiasm caught Qi Yanran a little off guard. Moreover, Li Zongjiu seemed to be looking at her. If she said that she didn't want to go to the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor, if Li Zongjiu heard it, wouldn't he have some ideas? Therefore, Qi Yanran quickly said. I accept Sister Ling Yan's kindness, but the matter of transferring schools still requires the exchange of schools. Aya, isn't that just a matter of a sentence? If you come to our Heavenly Star Medicine Manor, I will arrange for you to be in the same class as Li Zongjiu. Ling Yan said with a smile. After all, Qi Yanran was just a little girl. In front of Li Zongjiu, she was also very concerned about her image. In order to pull Qi Yanran to their Heavenly Star Medicine Manor, Ling Yan had to be very careful. It could be said that Ling Yan put down her old face and went all out. Teacher Ling, where is my gift? Kuan Erishur also shamelessly came up. Ling Yan didn't even think about it and directly sent Kuan Erishur flying with a slap. Looking at the joyous scene, Su Sha's heart was slightly relieved. As long as nothing big happened and they passed this competition smoothly, she would be thankful to the heavens. This was a foreign country. Even Su Sha herself was very nervous in her heart. She hoped that nothing bad would happen. Not good, Sister Xiaoji is fighting with someone outside. At present, only Xia Wanji and Yu Xinji had not returned. Su Sha glanced at the door and saw Yu Xinji jumping in with an anxious look on her face. Su Sha's entire body was energized. Going out with such a large group of people, this kind of situation was what she was most afraid of. What? The first thought in Su Sha's mind was to find Zhou Zheng and Chu Tai-ran. Only with these two people could the problem be solved. Who knew that Ling Yan would slap her? How dare you bully my Xingyan dynasty's people? Ling Yan had the aura of a big sister. She directly kicked the chair in front of her and then waved her hand. Where is it? Take me there. While speaking, Ling Yan also directly grabbed Zhu Xiao and Kuan Erisher. Hey, if you have something to say, we can talk about it. I didn't say that I won't go. Kuan Erisher, a dignified man, was actually grabbed by the clothes by Ling Yan. If this was seen by others, how shameful it would be. Immediately, Kuan Erisher also directly roared. Don't worry. I'll go find Master Chu first. Su Sha also said anxiously. Looking at Ling Yan's posture, it was obvious that he wanted to rush out and tear these people to shreds. If the two groups of people were to fight, wouldn't the situation become even more serious? Qi Yanran also stood up slightly. This kind of thing couldn't be left out of the matter. Originally, Nan Peixian just wanted to follow and take a look. If he didn't go, wouldn't he be criticized? No matter what, he couldn't be looked down upon. After all, they were a group of hot-blooded youths. When encountering a problem, they would always be hot-blooded. Not to mention that there was a hot-tempered Ling Yan taking the lead. He was afraid that this matter wouldn't be blown out of proportion. For a moment, everyone walked out of the door. Yu Xian didn't care so much. Anyway, she had to save Xia Wanji first. Let's go. This kind of thing needs to be dealt with forcefully. Li Zongjiu walked at the back of the group. Seeing Su Sha's flustered expression, it was obvious that this little girl had yet to recover from her shock. Ever since they arrived here, Su Sha's nerves had been stretched taut all the way. Now that there was finally an accident, Su Sha's heart was also quite nervous. If there was no one supporting her from behind, she would probably break down. Li Zongjiu patted Su Sha's shoulder. This little girl was still a good person. At least, Su Sha kept her mouth shut about the matter in Myriad Tea Villa. Otherwise, if Su Sha betrayed Li Zongjiu behind his back, Li Zongjiu would be in some trouble. Whether it was troublesome or not was one thing, but whether Su Sha could keep this secret was another. Su Sha was originally uneasy in her heart, but after hearing Li Zongjiu's voice, her heart suddenly seemed to have eaten a calming pill. Yes, but you can't show up. I have to show up for this matter. In the sphere of influence of other dynasties, with Su Sha's identity as the Heavenly Pill Pavilion's deacon, it was naturally easier to deal with it. She believed that when these people heard her name, they would more or less give her face. Su Sha and Li Zongjiu also rushed out quickly. Central Street. Speaking of today's matter, it was really because the other party was too arrogant. When Xia Wanji was shopping in a clothing store, she happened to meet a young miss from an unknown family. The two of them took a fancy to the same clothes almost at the same time. Originally, Xia Wanji also disdained to fight with the other party for such a small thing. It was better to be a little more low-key when outside. However, the other party's aura was overbearing, and she even verbally insulted Xia Wanji and Yu Xian. As a result, Xia Wanji's temper exploded on the spot, and she threw this whatever eldest young miss onto the street, eating mud all over her body. After that, The two brothers of this young mist directly led people to surround Xia Wanji and Uxian. Xia Wanji injured a few of the other party's people before sending Uxian out. She also asked Uxian to quickly go back and call for help. She would be in trouble if she came late. The entire central street was in chaos. Xia Wanji's skill was not weak. Under the other party's encirclement, she could be considered to have forcefully killed her way out. However, she caused a lot of damage along the way. Detain her! A man suddenly shouted. A group of people had been chasing a young miss for half a day, yet they still had not taken her down. This was simply embarrassing. Just as the man finished speaking, a figure suddenly descended from the sky. Xia Wanji sensed the aura of the other party. He was at least a grade 6 Yuan monarch. Oh no! Xia Wanji's figure was immediately trapped on the spot by the other party. Run! Let's see where you can run to. Chapter 906. A stern-looking middle-aged man appeared in front of Xia Wanji. This middle-aged man had his hands behind his back as he descended from the sky. Two men dressed in luxurious clothes who were chasing after him surrounded him. Guest Elder Hu Yong did well. If we don't deal with this girl today, wouldn't our Qian family be trampled on by anyone in the future? Qian Liang originally brought people to help his sister vent her anger, but who knew that they would encounter such a troublesome fellow? Therefore, Qian Liang couldn't bear his pride and called people to intercept them. If Xia Wanji really escaped, the Qian family would suffer a great loss tonight. Hu Yong didn't speak. He stood in place and moved aside slightly. In the Black Canal Royal City, he actually dared to hit the Qian family's third Mississippi. He reckoned that this person either had a noble status or didn't know the identity of the Qian family's third Mississippi, otherwise, he wouldn't have done such a thing. Not knowing the name of the Qian family's third miss meant that the person in front of him wasn't from the Black Canal Royal City. However, Hu Yong didn't continue guessing. Anyway, no matter who he was today, since he encountered the two tyrant young masters of the Qian family, he reckoned that no matter how powerful he was, he would be finished. Preserving his life was the most important thing. You two spineless cowards. Do you know who I am? Why aren't you letting me go? Otherwise, there will be plenty of people to take care of you. Xia Wanji's status in the Sacred Flame Royal City was imaginable. The young masters of the aristocratic families in the Royal City all revolved around Xia Wanji. However, she was trapped by this local tyrant here. Oh, you're quite stubborn. I like stubborn people. Qian Fei became excited when he heard that. He didn't expect Xia Wanji to have such a fiery temper. However, he liked fiery horses with such fiery temperaments. Brother, don't move. This girl is mine tonight. You can do whatever you want tomorrow. While speaking, Qian Fei also quickly rubbed his hands and walked forward. He actually wanted to reach out and pinch Xia Wanji's face. How dare you? See if I dare or not. Seeing that Xia Wanji dared to glare at him, Qian Fei became even more excited. Just as Qian Fei was about to succeed, a hand suddenly reached out from the side and clasped Qian Fei's finger. Then, the hand pressed against the joint. Ah! Qian Fei immediately felt a heart-wrenching pain. He bent down and knelt on the ground, crying bitterly. Ouch, 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 I told you not to move. Why are you still moving? Go home and move your sister. Koan Erisher appeared in a domineering manner and directly pressed that kid to the ground. Ling Yan stepped forward and slapped Xia Wanji's body, removing the restriction on her body. Seeing Ling Yan and the others arrive, Xia Wanji's heart finally relaxed. Her people had finally arrived. No matter what, these people had no way to deal with Xia Wanji today. Xia Wanji was just a little impulsive in this matter, but she didn't think that she was wrong. If it happened again, Xia Wanji would still throw that woman out. Let him go. When Hu Yong saw the other party, he immediately said coldly. However, a beautiful figure stood in front of everyone. She looked at Hu Yong with a calm and cold gaze. This gaze was one that had experienced the baptism of blood and fire. Not a simple person. When Kun Erisher saw that Xia Wanji was out of danger, he directly pushed Qian Fei out. Qian Fei staggered and finally fell to the ground with a bang. This made the surrounding onlookers laugh. In comparison, Qian Fei was too useless. Moreover, his appearance looked very funny. Immediately, Qian Fei couldn't sit still and stood up with a bang. You actually dared to hit me. Guest Elder Hu Yong, kill him for me. With Qian Fei's character, when had he ever suffered such a big loss? He immediately commanded Hu Yong to go up and kill Kun Erisher. With a shwa sound, a long spear appeared in Kun Arashi's hand. Kun Wing Spear. A wave of baleful aura, coupled with the heroic spirit of a Kun Peng spreading its wings, suddenly arose. A tyrannical power spread out. Even Hu Yong couldn't help but be moved. Everyone stop. Nan Peixian suddenly shouted and then walked out from the crowd. I'm Nan Peixian from the Nan family of the Shengyan dynasty. You guys, please give me some face. If there's a bloodbath here, you and I won't have a good ending. Nan Peixian said. At the same time, he glanced at Kun Erisher and signaled Kun Erisher to put away his weapon. After all, this was the other party's territory. If a fight really broke out, not to mention how the officials would deal with it, the other party could just call some people over and bury them. It was obviously a very disadvantageous situation. What? Sacred Flame Royal City? When Hu Yong heard that, he knew that it was hard to say. He didn't expect that this group of strong young people in front of him was actually from the Sacred Flame Royal City. If he only guessed from this, he could immediately guess that these people came to participate in the Three Dynasties elixir gathering. They were all young alchemists from the Shengyan dynasty. If something happened to these people in the Haiku dynasty, the Qian family would probably be in big trouble. Immediately, Hu Yong hurried to the eldest young master Qian Liang and whispered a few words. After hearing that, Qian Liang's eyes lit up. He looked at the people in front of him carefully and was actually a little afraid. He didn't expect these people to have such a big background. However, it was impossible to just let today's matter go. No matter what, there had to be a way out. The Shengyan dynasty was great, but the Haiku dynasty wasn't afraid of anyone. The Qian family also wanted to save face. Qian Liang signaled his subordinates to hold Qian Fei down and walked out. Nan Peixian came out from the other side. He didn't seem to be good at fighting, so he was here to negotiate. So it's people from the Shengyan dynasty. For today's matter, even the Shengyan dynasty has to be reasonable. Your people injured my sister. Today, no matter what, you have to give the Qian family an explanation. Qian Liang said faintly. When he spoke, he also told the other party about his background. It turned out that they were people from the Haiku dynasty's Qian family. This Qian family was quite a rich family. Who would have thought that they would offend such a group of people? Fortunately, Nan Peixian was aware of his status and knew that the other party was negotiating. If you give me face, I'll give you a way out. It's all a misunderstanding. It's a misunderstanding. Your sister's injury wasn't something that we wanted. I, Nan Peixian, apologize here. These 3 5th-grade elixir pills, Heavenly Treasure Xian pills, are a little compensation. Chapter 907. Not only did he apologize, but he also took the initiative to give out the elixir. Such an attitude was very suitable. Brother, we can't let these people go. Qian Fei saw that Qian Liang wanted to settle the matter peacefully and immediately stepped forward and whispered. Qian Liang motioned Qian Fei to go back and wait. How could these people be so easy to provoke? Therefore, it was good that today's matter could be settled like this. To be able to represent the Sacred Flame Royal City to participate in the pill-gathering martial arts competition of the three dynasties, their strength was not simple. The power behind them was not necessarily inferior to the Qian clan. Just look at the people from the Haiku dynasty who were qualified to participate in the pill assembly of the three dynasties. Qian Liang did not expect that he would have the opportunity to establish a relationship with the alchemists of the Shengyan dynasty. Well, since Brother Nan is a reasonable person, my Qian family is not a stingy person. Today's matter will end here. Qian Liang said. The people on both sides heaved a sigh of relief. Sure enough, it was different when someone came forward. If it was Xie Wanji who was here alone, she would suffer some losses. After all, she was a girl. Originally, the two groups of people were like fire and water. Now, the representatives were shaking hands and making peace. Those who didn't know the situation would think that they were establishing some friendly relations. I got along well with Brother Nan. Come to my house for tea when you have time. Qian Liang approached Nan Peixian and said. The matter was resolved as soon as Nan Peixian came forward. Nan Peixian could not help but feel that his face was particularly glorious. Did you see that? This was the charm of a person. In the outside world, the most important thing was face. He, Nan Peixian, would spread his face to the entire Haiku dynasty sooner or later. Ling Yan originally wanted to fight with the other party, but they actually dared to rely on their numbers to bully the few. With so many people bullying a little girl, he naturally felt unhappy in his heart. However, since Nan Peixian had already settled the matter, there was no need to complicate matters any further. He would swallow this for the time being. However, seeing Nan Peixian and the other party's leader talking and laughing, he was quite disgusted with Nan Peixian. He did not think that Nan Peixian was a capable person. If it was another person who dealt with this matter, Ling Yan thought in his heart. At this time, Li Zongjiu and Su Sha finally found the main group. Who touched our people? Li Zongjiu explained a lot of things to Su Sha along the way, including how to decisively intimidate everyone in such a situation. The key was to be fast. Catching the other party off guard was the most effective way to intimidate the crowd. That one, they are the leaders. Kun Erisher heard Li Zongjiu's words and subconsciously pointed at Qian Liang and Qian Fei opposite him. Deal with him. Li Zongjiu directly rushed out like an arrow. Then, under the shocked gaze of everyone present, he lifted Qian Liang, who was discussing with Nan Peixian about when to beat him up, and heavily smashed him onto the floor. Boom! The green stone slab beneath Qian Liang immediately cracked like a spider web. After putting down Qian Liang, Li Zongjiu's figure instantly rushed to the front of Qian Fei. At this moment, Qian Fei's mind was only thinking about how to deal with Xie Wanji. Even if he could negotiate and solve the matter now, he must deal with Xie Wanji. In the end, he saw Li Zongjiu rush up and kick Qian Fei's stomach. Boom! Qian Fei's whole body flew out. In an instant, he flew out a distance of 20 to 30 meters and smashed several stalls before his body stopped. Who are with them? Take them all down. Li Zongjiu shouted loudly. Kun Erisher, who had been restraining himself for a long time, directly rushed out with the Kun wing spear and immediately put the Qian family's guards on the ground one after another. Boom! 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 As a guest of the Qian family, Hu Yong had to take action in such a situation. However, Hu Yong was only a trash in front of Li Zongjiu. He happily rewarded Hu Yong with a punch and directly sent Hu Yong flying out. Nan Peixian widened his eyes and was dumbfounded. He watched the peace he established and the scene he controlled was completely destroyed by Li Zongjiu. It's that stinking woman. Go and kill her for me. Not far away, a young girl rushed over with 40 to 50 people behind her. One of them was slightly older and should be the leader of this group of thugs. The young girl was the former third miss of the Qian family, Qian Feifei. When Qian Feifei was thrown out of the store, she suddenly felt that the sky had fallen. She had never been treated like this before. Today, she actually met such a rude and barbaric woman who dared to act recklessly. Qian Feifei sent people back to the family and called her two brothers over just to teach this woman a lesson. As for herself, she went back home and washed up a little. Then, she changed into a set of clean clothes and immediately took the family's guards to take revenge. No matter what, she had to split that woman in half. Only then could she vent her anger in her heart. When the leader of the guards came here, he just happened to see the Qian family's guards being beaten up. Without saying anything, he rushed up with his men. Boom, boom, boom. After a chaotic battle, Qi Yanran also took action. The three of them easily defeated the team of close to 100 people in front of them. The scene was under control at once. Nan Peixian was most afraid of this kind of thing happening. Were Li Zongjiu and the others brainless? Why did they do this? Why did they have to fight? Why couldn't they just sit down and reason? Why did they have to beat people up like this? Now that things had turned out like this, how should he end it? End it? In Li Zongjiu's mind, he never considered such a problem. The Qian family's guards were lying on the ground in disorder. Catch the two leaders, Li Zongjiu said. Koan Erisher understood Li Zongjiu's meaning. He stepped forward and lifted Qian Fei and Qian Liang up. You dare to hurt my Qian family's guards. My Qian family will not let you off. Qian family will not let you go. Kid, you offended someone you can't afford to offend. Qian Feifei saw Li Zongjiu and the others were so fierce. She was also afraid that these people would beat her, so she kept retreating. But when she saw her brother was still in the hands of the other party, the only thing she could think of was to go back to the family and call someone to deal with Li Zongjiu and the others. Miss Xie, these people bullied you, right? Li Zongjiu turned around and shouted to Xie Wanji behind him. Xie Wanji nodded in a daze. Su Sha and the others all looked at Li Zongjiu with their mouths wide open. The situation in front of them turned out to be like this. Li Zongjiu was really capable. Little girl, you are in trouble today. Call your parents to the Wind and Moon Inn to redeem your people. Chapter 908. Come to the Wind and Moon Inn to redeem them. Domineering. Su Sha shook her head to prevent herself from hearing it wrongly. Was Li Zongjiu speaking the truth? Was he really going to go to such an extent? Along the way, the thoughts that Li Zongjiu had instilled in her didn't seem to be like this. This made Su Sha's heart completely shocked. Qi Yanran seemed to be mentally prepared for Li Zongjiu's actions. Therefore, when Li Zongjiu said such words, she didn't feel that there was anything wrong. On the contrary, it was normal. She could completely understand the reason behind Li Zongjiu's actions. As for Su Sha, she didn't understand at all. Why did Li Zongjiu have to go to such an extent? He clearly had the upper hand, but now he still had to create so much trouble. Su Sha simply didn't know what to say to Li Zongjiu. Just one thing was enough to make such a big fuss. But looking at the people around her, except for Nan Peixian who was extremely unhappy, the rest of the people were all excited. That's right. Do you think that the people of Sacred Flame Royal City are easy to bully? Let your Qian family's lord come and take them away. Ling Yan also said directly. Qian Feifei, who was at a loss, looked on helplessly as this group of people took her two brothers away. They directly took them away in the dignified Black Chu Royal City. What was the background of these people? Qian Feifei had never encountered such a situation. All the subordinates she brought were defeated. Not a single one could fight. Miss, there's no other way. Quickly return to the family to ask for help. Hu Yong stood up and said, coming to Qian Feifei's side. Under Li Zongjiu's one move, he was severely injured and only got up now. The strength of that young man just now was really too terrifying. Only when you truly faced him, you could deeply feel the terror of the other party. Fortunately, Qian Feifei wasn't beaten up by the other party. Otherwise, Qian Feifei's life would probably end here. But looking at these people, they should have some confidence. At least, they wouldn't act recklessly. All right. We'll go back. Qian Feifei had never met such a tough opponent. To capture the two young masters of the Qian family in front of so many people, such methods and boldness were definitely not ordinary. Fortunately, Qian Feifei was not completely scared silly. She quickly returned to the Qian family under Hu Yong's arrangements and told her father about this matter. Qian Tianding. Of course, during this process, he had also concealed the part where he had gone overboard. Instead, he described the other party as unreasonable, overbearing, and rampant. Otherwise, how could he dare to kidnap the two young masters of the Qian family on the street? Breeze and Moon Inn. Qian Liang and Qian Fei were tied to the door pillars. However, when he saw that the two people who were kidnapped were actually the two young masters of the Qian family, he was slightly surprised in his heart. This was extremely impressive, to actually capture them and bring them here. It seemed like the people from the Heavenly Pill Pavilion were not to be trifled with. You guys captured all the young masters of the Qian clan. What's the situation? The innkeeper personally served them 2 pots of tea. Nothing big, just a personal grudge. Li Zongjiu replied faintly. Seeing that the shopkeeper was completely in the mood to watch the show, he knew that the background of this inn was not simple. Otherwise, the Black River Pill Hall would not have arranged for them to be here. Why don't we send them back? Su Sha was a little worried. Kidnapping was something that had never been done before. Although it was a little exciting to think about it now, if it continued on like this, they would not be able to take it. Something big might happen. When we're outside, we must be ruthless. Otherwise, these people will think that we're easy to bully. No matter what, we can't tarnish the reputation of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. Li Zongjiu patted Su Sha's shoulder and said. Yes. That's right, I agree with Li Brat. These people have caused trouble. It's impossible to solve it easily. Ling Yan also made a decision and said. They must be united when they're outside, and they must not be afraid when something happens. If they were afraid, they would take the initiative to find trouble. This matter would be inexcusable. When the time comes, they would always find an opportunity to bully you. Only when the other party is completely afraid and knows that you're the kind of person that they can't afford to offend, then they would know their place. I'm afraid that you guys don't know what's good for you. This Qian clan is enough to be ranked as one of the top 10 clans in the Haiku dynasty. Their wealth is sky high. They can buy countless assassins with just a handful of money. If you really anger them, it won't be easy to leave the Haiku dynasty. Nan Peixian sneered and said. He would not associate with these people. They were simply seeking their own deaths. They were too self-righteous. Who do they think they are? They actually dared to challenge the position of the Qian clan. They just disdain to be calculative with you guys. Now, you guys don't know what's good for you. You actually kidnapped the two young masters of the Qian clan. They can casually find a reason to deal with you guys. Death is at hand, and you guys don't even know it. Throw him out. Li Zongjiu glanced at Nan Peixian. He said. Hearing Li Zongjiu's words, Kuan Erisher stood up without saying a word and walked towards Nan Peixian. When Nan Peixian saw Kuan Erisher walking towards him, he immediately became nervous. What are you guys doing? Deacon Su Sha, aren't you the person in charge? Are you going to watch this brat deal with your own people? After I return, I will definitely go to the Heavenly Pill Pavilion to complain about you. Nan Peixian immediately brought Su Sha out. After all, Su Sha was in charge of this entire area. Of course, she was responsible for everyone present. But this time, Su Sha did not speak up for Nan Peixian. Because after coming to this point, at least they were already on the same boat. No one could escape. Nan Peixian's words were no different from a traitor. Su Sha couldn't bear to see such a person. Kuan Erisher directly lifted Nan Peixian up and threw him out of the window. You dare to provoke me? You're dead. When we return, I will definitely not let you off. Nan Peixian was directly thrown out of the window, and a plop was heard. There's a river by the window over there. When the shopkeeper saw Kun Arashi's actions, he wanted to remind him. But when he saw that this person had already been thrown out, he naturally closed his mouth. Let's have some side dishes, Li Zongjiu said. The rest of the people were sitting in front of the table. Su Sha was a little worried. If the people from the Qian family came, what should she do? Just as she was thinking, she saw a large group of people lined up at the entrance of the inn. Then, 3 figures walked in. The rest of the people were waiting outside. He, this old man is the Qian family's patriarch, Qian Tianding. I wonder how my 2 disappointing sons offended these few little brothers. Chapter 909. When Qian Tianding walked in, he didn't have much of an imposing aura. However, when a white-robed elder, who was half a step behind Qian Tianding, walked in, his razor-sharp aura immediately locked onto the person in front of him. A terrifying aura directly attacked. Everyone felt as if there was a sharp steel knife hanging over their heads. Are you courting death? Li Zongjiu snorted coldly and instantly released an explosive force. Bang! It shattered the aura released by the white-robed elder. The white-robed elder's eyes flashed. This kid's strength was not simple to be able to destroy his mental attack so easily. However, it was just a beginner mental attack. The white-robed elder still had many tricks up his sleeve. He originally wanted to show these arrogant young people his strength. Now, it seemed that these young people were indeed quite capable. However, the white-robed elder was no longer prepared to test them. However, Li Zongjiu didn't think so. Since this old man dared to attack, it was equivalent to challenging Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu's terrifying mental energy immediately turned into a huge wave and slammed towards the white-robed elder. What? The white-robed elder's expression changed as he felt a great pressure coming towards him. Then, Li Zongjiu's power directly slammed onto the white-robed elder. The old man in the white robe had done some research on mental strength, but when faced with Li Zongjiu's attack, he had no power to resist at all. His whole body was blasted away. In the eyes of the others, Li Zongjiu and the white-robed elder didn't move at all. It seemed as if they were engaged in a secret confrontation. More importantly, it was Li Zongjiu's glare that sent the white-robed elder flying. He spat out a mouthful of blood. Then, he fell onto the street. Elder Nianbai. Elder Nianbai, are you all right? When the Qian family experts guarding outside saw the white-robed elder being blasted out, they hurriedly went forward to help him up. However, as Elder Nianbai stood up, he spat out blood at the same time. The injuries on his body could be said to be rather serious. Puff! In the end, Nianbai simply spat out a mouthful of blood. His entire body fell to the ground with a bang, unconscious. Qian Tianding saw the outcome of Elder Nianbai and looked at the young man who had just attacked. His eyes flashed with a cold light. He actually attacked in front of Qian Tianding and injured an elder of the Qian family. It seemed that Nianbai's injuries would take at least 3 to 5 years to recover. Qian Tianding was even more shocked by Li Zongjiu's strength. He knew about Nianbai's mental energy level. Even an primitive emperor expert had to be wary of his. However, in front of Li Zongjiu, he didn't even have the strength to fight back. Therefore, Qian Tianding was also cautious. He waved his hand and signaled the guards behind him to not rush in. If he, the head of the Qian family, couldn't deal with these young people in front of him personally, Qian Tianding wouldn't be able to stay in the Black Canal Royal City any longer. Now, can we talk about how to release my two sons? Qian Tianding took the initiative to sit in front of Li Zongjiu and looked at Li Zongjiu as he spoke. In terms of momentum, it seemed that he alone was able to hold off so many people on Li Zongjiu's side. Ling Yan and the rest didn't interrupt. Instead, they let Li Zongjiu handle this matter while they watched from the side. Kuan Erisher and Qi Yanran looked at Qian Tianding in front of them cautiously. They had to be wary of Qian Tianding because they could clearly feel that Qian Tianding's strength wasn't simple. That's more like it. Li Zongjiu nodded with satisfaction. I heard that your Qian family is very rich. Let's use money to solve this matter. You can just give me 2 billion purple yuan. 2 billion purple yuan. Not only Qian Tianding, but even Ling Yan, Su Sha and the others thought that Li Zongjiu was joking. He was just trying to scare Qian Tianding in front of them. Who would be so stupid as to take out 2 billion purple yuan? Whose money wasn't earned through hard work? How could they give it to you like this? Are you dreaming? However, there were two people who knew that Li Zongjiu wasn't joking. Since he said 2 billion, then it would be 2 billion, not even a dime less. In the past, there were people who wanted to bargain, but later on, these people disappeared. They even paid a higher price. Therefore, when Li Zongjiu asked for something, they would just agree. However, many people didn't realize this, such as Qian Tianding in front of them. After hearing Li Zongjiu's words, Qian Tianding took it as a joke. Young man, if you want to learn how to negotiate, I suggest you read more books before coming. Qian Tianding suddenly laughed. He thought that Li Zongjiu was a capable person, but now it seemed that he was just a so-so. There was not much difference between him and some ordinary ruffians. You want to read books, right? Li Zongjiu smiled in a very friendly manner before pointing at Qian Fei who was not far away. Qian Fei had been gnashing his teeth as he stared at Li Zongjiu. Therefore, Li Zongjiu was very straightforward. After Kuan Erisher understood, he directly punched Qian Fei's face. Bang! Qian Fei immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. How dare you hit me? Qian Fei glared at Kuan Erisher in front of him, and Kuan Erisher also responded very politely. He punched Qian Fei again, and Qian Fei spat out another mouthful of blood. Puff! You want to scare me? When Qian Tianding saw his son being beaten, his eyes suddenly became cold. Sometimes, he didn't like to negotiate with these young people because they didn't play by the rules at all. So what? Qian Tianding was in their hands now. Sit down. Do you want me to cut off one of your son's legs? Li Zongjiu knocked on the table. Qian Tianding stood up directly in anger just now, and even wanted to order an attack. He had to cripple this kid no matter what. Only then could he relieve the hatred in his heart. Qian Tianding was furious that a brat had actually dared to step on his head. If you dare to cut off one of his legs, I will make sure none of you can walk out of Heichu Royal City. Qian Tianding was not scared. Since this kid was so arrogant, he would let him know what it meant to kick an iron plate. Qian Tianding was no longer interested in playing this kind of game with Li Zongjiu. With a clap of his hand, a large group of Qian family guards rushed in from behind. There were even two elders of the primitive emperor level who showed up. In the Haiku dynasty, there was no rule that primitive emperor experts couldn't fight. Chapter 9-10. Seeing that so many people had rushed in, Qian Yu and the others were all shocked. It was obvious that they wanted to fight. Ling Yan and company slammed the table and stood up. Su Sha could also tell that the situation was no longer under her control. It was hard to tell what would happen in the future. Let's see who dares to move. Break that kid's leg. Li Zongjiu took out the desolate heaven essence. After all, the demonic hammer's strength was not easy to control. It would be very embarrassing if he accidentally hurt someone with it. With the desolate heaven essence in hand, it was enough to make these people fear him. The desolate aura that was emitted from the desolate heaven essence made the people from the Qian family not dare to act rashly. Instead, they looked at Qian Tianding. If Qian Tianding gave the order to capture the group of children in front of them, they would definitely do so. Kuan Erisher was very honest as he used a bench to smash Qian Fei's leg. Ah! Qian Fei suddenly let out a hysterical roar of pain. His leg was broken, and the place where he was hit quickly swelled up. Anyone who saw it could clearly feel the pain. Veins could be seen protruding from Qian Tianding's forehead. Li Zongjiu really did not give him any face. He even embarrassed Qian Tianding in front of so many people. If a normal negotiation had reached this stage, it would have eased up. If both sides directly stood up, both sides would be at a disadvantage in the end. The young man opposite them did not seem to have any intention of stopping, nor did he have any intention of playing such tricks. He was a man of his word. "Father! Save me!" Qian Fei cried out. Qian Tianding could no longer tolerate it. Since these people were the ones who provoked him first, he could not be blamed. "Do it, save them." He took a deep breath. Since these children did not know the severity of the situation and did not follow the rules, he could not be blamed. Immediately, the two Qian family experts behind him walked out. One of them grabbed Qian Fei and Qian Liang while the other rushed towards Li Zongjiu. To catch bandits, first catch the ringleader. Now it seemed that Li Zongjiu was the leader of these people. Once Li Zongjiu was taken down, the rest of the people naturally wouldn't be able to do anything. However, the two of them were too naive. With Li Zongjiu in charge, how could these people dare to cause trouble in front of Li Zongjiu? Li Zongjiu immediately leaped up and smashed the desolate heaven essence in his hand at one of them. After smashing out, the Qian family expert, who was already an primitive emperor expert, actually tried to block Li Zongjiu's desolate heaven essence with one hand. One had to know that Li Zongjiu's physical strength had already reached the primitive emperor realm. If the person in front of him dared to block this move with just his physical body, the outcome was obvious. The moment they clashed in mid-air, the person was sent flying by Li Zongjiu's desolate heaven essence. He was an elder of the Qian family and was an influential figure in the Black Canal royal city. However, he was sent flying out of the inn by Li Zongjiu's strike. He landed heavily on the ground. He spat out blood. After a while, he fainted. No matter how the Qian family's guards shouted, they did not wake the unconscious elder. As for the other person, he had already arrived in front of Qian Fei. In comparison, Qian Fei's rescue value was higher. Therefore, the elder chose Qian Fei first. Just as he was about to break the pillar in front of him and take him away, however, he suddenly felt a sharp intent coming from the back of his head. "A mere beginner Yuan monarch dares to cross swords with me." The Qian family elder snorted. The one who attacked was Kuan Erisher. However, Kuan Erisher had just broken through to the Yuan monarch realm. Just by relying on the weapon in his hand, the increase in strength did not allow Kuan Erisher to reach the level where he could challenge an primitive emperor realm elite. However, the mental power attack attached to the spear made the Qian family elder feel a stab of pain. It was as if an extremely thin needle had pierced the back of his head, causing his body to stagnate for half a second. Half a second later, Kuan Erisher was sent flying. Qi Yanran stretched out her hand and her elemental energy immediately turned into a tree branch, blocking Kuan Erisher. "I asked you to save people. How dare you be so arrogant?" Half a second later, Li Zongjiu had already appeared in front of the Qian family elder and ruthlessly threw the desolate heaven essence in his hand. The Qian family elder fell to the ground with serious injuries. He was unconscious. A crack appeared on his head and fresh blood flowed out from the crack. Soon, the Qian family elder's robes were stained with blood. The two elders of the Qian family fainted after being hit by 2 sticks. Such a ruthless person was unheard of even in the Haiku dynasty. This kid was too arrogant. However, with such powerful combat strength, who would dare to act recklessly? If they rushed forward, they might be hammered to death by Li Zongjiu. Therefore, the Qian family guards rushed to Qian Tianding's side and hid behind him, shouting that they were protecting their family head. Pay or die. It's up to you. You have to pay the price for doing something wrong. Li Zongjiu said indifferently. Then, he lifted the Qian family elder on the ground and threw him at Qian Tianding. Boom! The Qian family elder fell to the ground like a fainted wild dog. Qian Tianding clenched his fists again and again. He wanted to rush forward and fight with Li Zongjiu. However, after thinking about it, with his status, and Li Zongjiu's background, it would be terrible if he rashly rushed forward and got himself killed. As the family head of the Qian family, it would be a great loss of face. To be on the safe side, he had already suffered so much today. Before he figured out Li Zongjiu's background, he could not act rashly. He had to stabilize himself first. Very good. This is my Qian family's Golden Mountain token. With this token, you can pawn 1.5 billion purple yuan from various banks. It was obviously impossible to take out so much money in such a short time. Even if the Qian family was wealthy, it was impossible to take out such a large sum of money so quickly. Therefore, he took out the token and slammed it on the table. Is this for real? How can this lousy token be so valuable? Li Zongjiu said suspiciously. Of course, with Li Zongjiu's experience, he naturally knew that this Golden Mountain token was valuable. The reason why he said so was to strike down the Qian family's arrogance. Moreover, he had already benefited from it. Seeing that Qian Tianding was about to explode again, Li Zongjiu snapped his fingers. Then, Kuan Erasure put the 2 people down. Qian Fei fell to the ground with a plop. Because one of his legs was directly hit by Kuan Erasure, it was swollen. If it was not treated in time, it would really be broken. Let's go. Qian Tianding took a deep look at Li Zongjiu and turned to leave the breeze and moon in. Chapter 9-11. Qian Tianding and the rest left with their tails between their legs. Not only that, they even brought 2 injured people back with them. Even the Qian family's patriarch couldn't do anything about it. They still had to pay what they deserved. It was truly domineering. The other party came aggressively and even brought so many people. However, they didn't even say a few words before they obediently handed over the money. There wasn't any violence between the 2 groups, which made Su Sha extremely surprised. Although she said that she didn't know how this would happen, she knew that it wouldn't end well. Su Sha was even prepared to face the consequences of not being able to go back. In the end, these people were really all bark and no bite. They simply handed over the money and then left. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief. At least they didn't have to fight with these people. The other party was a local tycoon, the Qian family. On their first night here, they had offended the Qian family to the point of death. These people immediately understood how terrifying these people were. Su Sha also knew that this group of people in front of her wasn't just good at alchemy. Their ability to cause trouble wasn't ordinary either. Li Zongjiu, thank you for helping me vent my anger today. Xia Wanji didn't know why Li Zongjiu was so desperate for her. One had to know that it was very risky to become enemies with these people from the Qian family. Thank my ass. This is your compensation. Li Zongjiu threw the Golden Mountain token in his hand to Xia Wanji. The people from the Qian family bullied Xia Wanji. Therefore, Li Zongjiu was helping Xia Wanji to get this compensation. Xia Wanji never expected that someone would be so righteous. This was the Golden Mountain token. They represented the Qian family's business VIPs. As long as the Qian family hadn't gone bankrupt, or if there was still a mortgage in these banks, they could use the Golden Mountain Medallion to exchange for money. The Qian family's people would also bring money to the bank to redeem the Golden Mountain Medallion. It was said that there were only 10 Golden Mountain tokens in the entire Qian family. Only people who were of great help to the Qian family would receive this Golden Mountain token. Even if it was a commercial gift, it was valuable, and no one would use it carelessly. Sometimes, this token already exceeded its own value. Such a precious thing, Li Zongjiu actually threw it to Xia Wanji in a second hand. In this matter, Xia Wanji did not suffer any losses. On the other hand, the Qian family had suffered a lot in the hands of Li Zongjiu. Therefore, even if Li Zongjiu took the Golden Mountain token, no one would have any objections. After all, if it wasn't for Li Zongjiu, the Qian family might have eaten all the people in front of them. Therefore, it could be considered a very fortunate thing. The Jinshan token should have belonged to Li Zongjiu. Xia Wanji knew that Li Zongjiu would not accept this thing, because Li Zongjiu was not someone who cared about money. However, Xia Wanji was too embarrassed to take the money for herself. If it wasn't for you today, I don't know how this matter would have been resolved. I suggest that half of this money be donated to the Heavenly Pill Pavilion, and the other half be divided equally among all of us. When Xia Wanji said this, a few people's eyes lit up. Really? Su Sha's eyes were about to emit light, and she almost wanted to swallow Xia Wanji whole. Of course. Xia Wanji said. At this moment, Su Sha did not care about any of the disasters that Li Zongjiu had caused. If this money was injected into the Heavenly Pill Pavilion, the development of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion would definitely be more carefree. Although the Heavenly Pill Pavilion looked so glorious now, in reality, it was extremely empty inside. If it wasn't for the dynasty's subsidies and support, it would have been unable to survive. If it wasn't for the lack of money, many things could not be done, and it would be difficult to expand the influence of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. Otherwise, just by increasing the output of the subsidies for the alchemists, who knew how many alchemists would want to join in? Now, it was just a name. In the future, they might participate in some matters. Slowly, they would naturally become part of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. Therefore, Su Sha was the happiest to be able to get a few 100 million purple yuan as a sponsor. This was a huge sum of money for Su Sha. Amazing, amazing. Even the Qian family's people were defeated. A clear voice sounded. Li Zongjiu glanced at a young lady who was walking down the stairs. But no matter how amazing you are, you still have to pay for the broken stool. The young lady who walked down the stairs attracted the attention of Li Zongjiu and the others. You lass, it's just a small matter. What's there to fuss about? After all, we're allies. The most important thing is to create harmony and blossom in culture and literature. That's the most important thing. The stool isn't important. At this time, the shopkeeper also jumped out and said. When the Qian family's people came to find trouble, the shopkeeper didn't directly hide. Now that the Qian family's people left, he came out to ask for compensation. He probably felt that he couldn't afford to offend the Qian family. After all, this stool was broken by me. How much does it cost? Koan Erisher scratched his head. When he was about to beat them up, he didn't find a suitable weapon, so he casually picked up a long stool. It's not expensive, not expensive. Our shop is made of 100-year-old sunken wood. According to the weight, that stool just now is only 500,000 gold yuan. The shopkeeper immediately pulled out an abacus. Then, he knocked on it a few times. You're too greedy. How is this sunken wood? Koan Arashi's face darkened. This was simply extortion. Could it be that the shopkeeper saw that Koan Erisher and the others were easy to talk to? However, we went directly to the manufacturer. There's no middleman. Give us a discount. 250,000 gold yuan will do. The shopkeeper raised his head and glanced at the faces of these people. Mainly Li Zongjiu's face gradually turned ugly, so he immediately changed his tone. Don't try to trick us. Even blood brothers settle accounts clearly. I think you guys are quite pleasing to the eye, but you still have to pay. This stool is made by the Zhang family. 700 gold yuan. The young lady walked in front of the shopkeeper and snatched the abacus. You little girl, your father is saving for your dowry. If I don't prepare more dowry for you, how can you get married? When these people heard this, they realized that she was the shopkeeper's daughter. No wonder she was pointing fingers here. Looking at the young lady's temperament, although she was a girl, she had a heroic spirit and was extremely righteous. The original 250,000 gold yuan was settled in the end with 700 gold yuan. Thank you, thank you. 700 it is. Koen Erisher quickly paid from his own pocket. Next time, don't fight in my shop. Even if you are alchemists, I won't allow it. Oh, right. The one who was thrown out just now. If you guys don't go get him, he will be washed out of the city. Chapter 9-12. Although Nan Peishuan's character wasn't to everyone's liking, Nan Peixian was still a citizen of the Holy Flame Royal City. As the leader of this competition, Su Sha had to be responsible for Nan Peishuan's safety. Fortunately, the young lady of the inn lent a helping hand. She spent 500 gold coins to call for a salvage team to bring Nan Peixian back. Nan Peixian had probably never been beaten by anyone before. He didn't know what to do when he was thrown out. Therefore, after being flooded by the surging river, he lost his mind. His body was already soaked in the ice-cold river water. Apart from struggling for a while in the beginning, his head hit a rock and he fainted. The salvage team came just in time. This river is a moat. There are man-eating meta-beasts under it. If you rush to the river outside the city, even an immortal won't be able to save you, the captain of the salvage team said as he pulled Nan Peixian out. People often died in this river. Some jumped down themselves, some were thrown down by others. Usually, the price of salvaging corpses would be much higher. This time, I'm giving you a 50% discount on account of Miss Ruan. Usually, I'll charge you 1,000. Thank you for your hard work. Su Sha hurriedly said with a smile. Obviously, the captain of the salvage team was a chatterbox. Based on what he said, he obviously wanted Su Sha to give him more benefits. However, Su Sha couldn't understand the meaning behind his words. She just kept thanking him. In the end, the captain of the salvage team was helpless. He reminded the young man not to take things too hard and left. Thank you very much. If it weren't for you today, I wouldn't know where to go to get him. Ruan Xiaodai helped Su Sha send Nan Peixian back to the inn. However, she found that Nan Peixuan's things had been thrown to the corridor. The room that originally belonged to Nan Peixian had been occupied by Li Zongjiu. This room happened to be opposite Qi Yanran's room. Ruan Xiaodai didn't know what Li Zongjiu's purpose was to drive Nan Peixian out. However, Li Zongjiu said that the environment of this room was good. Therefore, Nan Peixian lost his room without a second word. Nan Peixian, who had regained some consciousness, realized that he had been expelled. He looked up to the sky and let out a long howl. How could they bully him like this? Then, he choked on his breath and fainted. Late at night, Zhou Zheng and the others returned to the Breeze and Moon Tavern. However, the two of them didn't know what was happening in the inn. After all, they didn't have much influence in the Black Canal Royal City. After all, this was the territory of others. In addition, he had drunk a lot of wine that night. He directly slept in the inn. But for the Black Canal Royal City, tonight was an extremely lively night. The first was the Infernal Colosseum. Hua Ying was one of the higher management members of the Hell Arena. Her words carried as much weight as the city lord of a small city. In fact, Her words held even more power and influence within the Black Canal royal city. However, today, a mere participant from the arena had actually dared to ignore her invitation. He had even injured her subordinates. If it wasn't for the fact that he had someone backing him, he would definitely be a fool to make an enemy out of someone from the higher management of the Infernal Colosseum. Very good. Since you dare to call yourself Evil Lord, it seems like you're very confident in yourself. Hua Ying's eyes revealed a dangerous glint. Hua Ying naturally didn't care about the outside world. After all, the outside world belonged to the Haiku dynasty. However, at least half of the sky in the Infernal Colosseum belonged to Hua Ying. The next time this evil lord came to the Infernal Colosseum, things wouldn't be so good. On the other side, the Qian family also called for an emergency meeting regarding this matter. There were two topics in this meeting. The first was how to deal with Qian Fei and Qian Liang. The main culprit, Qian Feifei, had escaped a calamity. If it weren't for her two brothers' indulgence and lawlessness, today's situation wouldn't have happened. The other thing was how to deal with these people from the Holy Flame Imperial City and the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. After all, this involved the Shengyan dynasty. If it were the local forces of the Haiku dynasty, they would have been tormented to death by the Qian family. They could easily destroy a family. When these people suddenly poured in and directly disrupted your market, you knew the seriousness of the problem. If these rich families wanted to deal with you, they didn't need to use force at all, nor did they need to waste many resources. After they destroyed you, they could easily buy all your businesses. Not only would they not suffer any losses, they might even make a fortune. However, against these people from the outside world, they could only use force. The group of people discussed in full swing for the entire night. First, the two elders were injured by the other party. It was obvious that these people weren't simple. It would not be an easy task to deal with them. However, the Qian family had lost face and the Golden Mountain token. At that time, Qian Tianding didn't have anything valuable on him, so he took out the Golden Mountain token. The name list is out. This person's name is Li Zongjiu. During the Shengyan dynasty, he seemed to be a troublesome person. Unfortunately, our Qian family isn't like those trash from the Shengyan dynasty. Qian Tianding's eyes flashed coldly. Contact the ancient tomb family. I want this Li Zongjiu. When we leave the Black Canal Imperial City, I want this Li Zongjiu to die on the way. The more powerful a person was, the more they cared about threats. Even if it was a potential threat, it had to be eliminated as soon as possible. Otherwise, as long as this problem existed, it would always be a problem, whether it was a big problem or a small one. The Qian family did not have much objection to this decision. If they wanted to kill Lin Fan after he returned to the Saint Flame Empire, it would be difficult to execute. Besides, the cost would be high as well. It would be more convenient to kill Lin Fan in their own territory. Qian Fei and Qian Liang were grounded for a month. They were locked in the study to reflect on their actions. They hadn't been disciplined for many years and had really thought that they could do whatever they wanted. This time, they had encountered a tough opponent and had almost died there. The next day, Qian Tianding had just woken up when a servant came to report. Family head, this morning, someone used the Golden Mountain token to pawn 1.5 billion purple yuan at Baoyuan Bank. When Qian Tianding heard this news, he smashed the entire precious bed into pieces with a slap. Chapter 9:13. Li Zongjiu originally wanted to make a trip to the Qian family in the middle of the night to completely resolve the matter. With the nature of these big families, they would definitely do something behind the scenes. But suddenly, the demonic hammer in his hand sent out a signal. It seemed like it couldn't hold back and wanted to rush out and kill someone. Therefore, Li Zongjiu had no choice but to refine the demonic hammer in the room again. You're very powerful, you little thing. Li Zongjiu felt that the demonic hammer in his hand seemed to be a little dishonest. After seeing blood, it began to float. It actually wanted to break free from Li Zongjiu's restraint and kill someone to suck their blood. Of course, Li Zongjiu had to suppress the hammer. At the same time, he used the obsidian fire to refine the demonic hammer in his hand. The black hammer burned in his hand. But there was no change. Initially, Li Zongjiu wanted to place the demonic hammer in the blood-soul hell to refine it properly. However, he did not expect the blood-soul hell to feel as though it was about to burst apart the moment he did so. Li Zongjiu was so scared that he took out the demonic hammer on the spot. Even the southern ring could only barely fit it in. Li Zongjiu could only pin the hammer on his waist. It seems like this demonic hammer doesn't belong to the Xingwu continent. Li Zongjiu calculated in his heart. In his previous life, Li Zongjiu had seen some fragments of high-grade magic treasures. Those things couldn't be refined by ordinary people. Some of them were so strong that even Li Zongjiu couldn't refine them when he was at his peak. With his cultivation at the peak of the supremacy realm, he couldn't do anything about it. Therefore, Li Zongjiu knew that there must be a higher realm in this world. In his previous life, he had already lived to the end. In the end, he took a risk and used this method to increase his strength and breakthrough. If it wasn't from the Holy Martial Continent, then it was most likely something from the Holy Martial Realm. Li Zongjiu put away the devil hammer to prevent it from going out and harming others. Previously, this little thing had been hiding in the storm of black clouds. It wasn't easy for Li Zongjiu to take care of him. The night passed in a flash. On the second day, everyone gathered for breakfast as usual. At the same time, they were waiting for the people from the Sky Flame Pill Prefecture to arrive. The Heavenly Flame Pill Mansion was an alchemy organization that belonged to the Heavenly Flame Dynasty. One was the Tianyan Dynasty, the other was the Shengyan Dynasty. Even an idiot could tell that the relationship between the two empires was definitely not that good. Back then, when the Shengyan Dynasty was established, the Tianyan Dynasty had contributed a lot. Not only did they obstruct the Shengyan Dynasty, but they also brought a lot of trouble to the Shengyan royal city. Many territories were taken away by the Tianyan Dynasty. However, the Shengyan Dynasty had just been established not long ago. It wasn't good to fall out with the Tianyan Dynasty. Now, the two empires were like brothers on the surface. At least, there wouldn't be any conflict on the surface. However, it was impossible to take back some of the original territories. In this elixir meeting of the three dynasties, the Tianyan Dynasty's Sky Flame Pill Prefecture was already prepared to teach the people of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion a lesson. It was unknown whether the people of the Black Canal Dynasty had intentionally arranged for the people of the Sky Flame Pill Prefecture to stay in the Breeze and Moon Hotel. Why didn't Nan Peixian come down to eat? Chu Tairan finally remembered that one person was missing. There were only 10 people including Su Sha. Nan Peixian hadn't come down yet. Nan Peixian last night, Su Sha couldn't help but say. However, she didn't know how to explain this matter. That kid insisted on swimming in the river last night. As a result, he caught a cold. Koan Erisher said directly. The content of his words made everyone's eyes widen. The others who were eating porridge almost spat it out directly. This reason was too clear-cut. A 5th-grade alchemist. How could it be so simple to catch a cold? The Yuan Qi fire protecting the body was not a simple decoration. Therefore, it was simply ridiculous to say that Nan Peixian caught a cold. Of course, what really made Nan Peixian fall seriously ill was actually Li Zongjiu's series of actions. Nan Peixian was a genius of the Nan family. When had he ever been treated like this? He had grown up in the midst of flowers and applause. Who wasn't respectful to him? Now, not only was he thrown into the river, even his sleeping room was taken away. It was really sad. Therefore, in a fit of anger, he became like this. In the case of being seriously ill, Nan Peixian probably couldn't participate in the competition. Ask a doctor to take a look at him later. Chu Tairan was also stunned, but no one knew what the specific situation was. There was no other way. They could only find a doctor to help Chu Tairan see the illness. Everyone was eating when suddenly, there was a sound of footsteps at the door. A threatening aura came in from outside. Chu Tairan and others immediately looked over. A group of people in white walked in. Heavenly Flame Pill Prefecture is here. There was a white-robed elder and 6 other disciples dressed in white robes. One of the young male disciples stepped forward and handed over the identity card in his hand. The innkeeper quickly booked a room for them and handed them the keys. Holding the key, they went upstairs. Throughout the whole process, they didn't see anyone from the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. However, when one of them was walking up the stairs, he locked his gaze on Li Zongjiu, revealing a hint of threat. Li Zongjiu raised his head and glanced at the person. He only glanced at the person indifferently, and the person immediately withdrew his gaze and disappeared at the end of the stairs. Those are the people from the Heavenly Flame Pill Prefecture. They're really arrogant. Koan Erishur couldn't help but say. After all, they were future opponents. However, these people directly ignored them and ignored their opponents. This made Koan Erishur and others very unhappy. However, they had to admit that these people's aura was really strong. Shouldn't there be 10 people? I see that there are only 6 of them. One of them should be the person in charge. That's only 5 people. Yao Fong couldn't help but ask. This extremely honest young man finally voiced out his doubts. Usually, he wouldn't be interested in some things. He just liked to study some medicinal herbs and the like. There are only 5 spots for the competition. The rest are all substitutes. This is to prevent any unexpected situations from happening. Obviously, they think that 5 people are enough. Su Sha explained. They're really arrogant. Ling Yan's expression was obviously not good. He was very unhappy when he saw these people. There were 5 men and 1 woman. The only woman was wearing a veil, as if they wanted to peek at her. Such a pretentious person was even more annoying. That person just now is the chief disciple of the Heavenly Flame Pill Prefecture, Mu Qingniu. Qi Yanran whispered to Li Zongjiu. What kind of Niu? Chapter 9:14. On the top floor of the Breeze and Moon Inn. Due to the special request before they came, the few of them stayed together in this big room. There was a big room in the Breeze and Moon Inn. Li Zongjiu and the others did not have a bright place to discuss matters. They could only stay in the hall downstairs. Fortunately, the Breeze and Moon Inn was not open to the public, so it was considered a quiet place. However, the people of the Sky Flame Pill Prefecture had a bright meeting hall in this room. Is there something wrong with that kid? A group of people sat around the long table. Elder Hao Yi of the Sky Flame Pill Prefecture, who was following Elder Xing, looked at the white-robed man in the crowd with a green silk scarf on his head. He looked gentle and his skin was very tender. It seemed like he had concocted a lot of nourishing elixirs for himself when he was refining elixirs. Nothing much. It's just that this person seems to have a different aura. Mu Qingniu said. Everyone looked at Mu Qingniu with admiration in their eyes. There was no other reason. 2 years ago, Mu Qingniu stepped into the 6th grade alchemist realm and caused a sensation. 2 years ago, Li Zongjiu was just a piece of trash who stayed in Luoxia City. Mu Qingniu's name had already spread throughout the Sky Flame Pill Prefecture. He had even become the most troublesome existence in the elixir conference of the 3 dynasties. Various forces had studied Mu Qingniu. Don't worry about the people of the Shengyan dynasty. They're just a bunch of trash. However, there are 2 incredible guys in the Hei Chu Pill Hall recently. You guys have to pay more attention to them. Alright. These kids were all disciples of the Sky Flame Pill Mansion. Moreover, they were the most outstanding batch. If they were defeated here, they would definitely be mocked. Although the venue of the competition was set in the He-Chu dynasty, which made it an away match, it did not affect their fighting spirit at all. Coming to other people's territory and defeating them was the most satisfying thing. Yes, Elder. We don't have much time to rest. We'll be participating in the first round tomorrow. Lin Lin will be the one to fight this round. She must win beautifully. Hao Yi said. The female disciple with a veil nodded slowly. Rest assured, Elder. Lin Lin nodded. Then, Hao Yi arranged the rest of the matters. There were a total of 3 forces participating in the competition. Therefore, the point system will be used. Each of the 5 contestants had 2 chances to go on stage. The winner got 1 point, the loser got 1 point, and the loser got 1 point deducted. If it was a draw, there was no increase or decrease in points. As for the specific rules, Li Zongjiu didn't understand them in detail. Anyway, this kind of competition didn't matter. Li Zongjiu also didn't think about showing off in such a place. Or something like that, it was a child's play. Li Zongjiu was only fulfilling his promise to the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. After all, Li Zongjiu had received so many benefits from the other party. He couldn't just take the benefits without doing anything. The reason why the people of Sunset City were able to maintain their current peace was naturally because of the protection of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. Although the Heavenly Pill Pavilion had yet to become a giant in the field of alchemy. However, in the Shengyan dynasty, he still had a very high status and his words carried a lot of weight. However, Nan Peixian couldn't go on stage now. He still needed someone to replace him. The person who replaced him was Xie Wanji. Xie Wanji originally thought that it was good enough to be able to experience it this time, but she never thought that there would be such a good thing. Xie Wanji directly became an official member. Of course, all of this was because of Li Zongjiu. It was simply too cool. Xie Wanji couldn't hold back the excitement in her heart. Before the meeting this morning, she had already gone to the bank on the street with Kuan Erisher and directly exchanged the Golden Mountain token for purple yuan. A total of 1.5 billion purple yuan filled up 5 storage rings. Even Xie Wanji received so much money for the first time. However, she didn't think about it and gave 800 million purple yuan to Su Sha. She treated it as a personal donation. However, Su Sha couldn't directly record this amount of money because it was difficult to explain the source of the money. She would only put the money in when she went back. Otherwise, the matter of her beating someone up and offending the local Qian family would be exposed. Originally, Su Sha was going to report this to Chu Tairan, but Li Zongjiu said that it wasn't necessary because Chu Tairan wouldn't know about it. The Qian family was so prideful that they definitely wouldn't let others know about it. They would try their best to block the news. Otherwise, if more people knew about it, wouldn't it be a big loss of face? Therefore, it wasn't a big deal. These people, you have to be tougher than them. You have to be more overbearing than them. Of course, you have to be stronger. If you don't have enough strength and want to be overbearing like others, then what awaits you is an extremely miserable end. Su Sha was skeptical. She didn't have confidence in such a big matter, but anyway, it was Li Zongjiu who instigated it. This guy probably wouldn't be afraid even if he poked a hole in the sky. The competition was about to start, and Su Sha's attention was gradually focused on it. Tomorrow would be a warm-up competition. For this competition, Chu Tairan let everyone draw lots. In the end, he drew Yao Fong to go up first. This also made Yao Fong feel a lot of pressure. Often, the first battle was the most important. It would affect the morale of the contestants in the following matches. Therefore, even if they didn't send out their strongest contestants, they would still choose a contestant who wasn't weak. But for these people from the Heavenly Pill Pavilion, other than Li Zongjiu, the rest of the contestants were about the same strength. Therefore, Chu Tairan couldn't make a choice. He was even prepared to not win a single match in the following matches. It was just like what those people in the Shengyan dynasty said. This was going to be a match that would bring about their own humiliation. But the Heavenly Pill Pavilion also needed these forces to motivate them. Only then could the Heavenly Pill Pavilion feel ashamed and brave. Failure was nothing to be afraid of. If they were afraid of failure and didn't dare to move forward, then it would be a real failure. The rest of the afternoon was free time. With the competition around the corner, everyone was getting nervous. The atmosphere had also changed. Only one person didn't seem to be affected by the surrounding atmosphere. That was Li Zongjiu. Since you want to kill, then let me see how capable you are. Li Zongjiu patted the hammer on his waist, and then came to the Hell Arena again. Evil Lord was here again. Chapter 9:15. Hell Arena. The evil dominator came and went like a ghost, disappearing without a trace. There was no trace of this evil dominator at all. Fortunately, Huaying did not delve too deeply into the evil dominator's identity. She just waited for this evil dominator to walk right into her trap. This person still had hundreds of thousands of purple yuan in his account in the Hell Arena. This was not a small sum. Therefore, Huaying knew that this evil lord would definitely make a comeback. Right now, the evil dominator had already won 7 rounds. Next time, she would find someone with a record of 8 matches. Huaying was already prepared. As long as evil lord appeared, he would not be able to escape from her grasp. Soon, Huaying received news that evil lord had arrived. Without saying a word, she immediately put out a huge advertisement. When some people received the news, they immediately rushed over. The preparation time was a full hour. However, in this short hour, the entire Black Canal Royal City was in an uproar. That berserk 5-second man was here again. Why was this evil lord called the 5-second man? Because after the match, someone had calculated that this evil lord had never taken more than 5 seconds to defeat an opponent. Usually, by the 3rd second, his opponent would have already been defeated. If not, they would have died. The only record of 5 seconds had been achieved by Lei Long, who had won 7 matches. However, although the Lei Long managed to keep its life after being defeated, it still hasn't woken up yet. Li Zongjiu did not know that the outside world was already spreading rumors about him. Almost half of the people in the city wanted to see Li Zongjiu's strength. They wanted to see what Li Zongjiu was good at. This time, Huaying had prepared an opponent for Li Zongjiu. His codename was Falcon. It was said that this person's eagle claw technique had already reached the pinnacle of perfection. He could easily break through one's defense, directly dig out one's heart, and crush it in front of one's face. Before you die, you can still see the scene of your heart being crushed. None of his opponents had been able to survive in the hands of this person. Only one person managed to escape with his life, but his leg was torn off by the other party. He became a one-legged man. Falcon's name had long struck fear into people's hearts. Many people were even afraid of facing Falcon because they didn't even have the chance to jump down from the arena when facing Falcon. If they turned around and fled, the chances of death were 100%. He would rather meet someone more powerful than Falcon, who had never shown any mercy. If you can kill him, I will give you 5 million purple yuan. Huaying said indifferently. 5 million purple yuan. The eyes of a man wearing a black mask became sharp, but his emotions did not relax. It's not easy for this kid. I've studied his battles. The weapon in his hand is quite dangerous. Falcon's voice was extremely hoarse. When Huaying heard Falcon's words, a glint flashed across her eyes. She glanced at Falcon indifferently, knowing that these people were all trying to get more benefits. Name your price. Fixed price, 30 million. Falcon raised 3 fingers. Originally, it was 5 million purple yuan, but now, he actually increased it by 25 million, directly increasing it by 6 times. Hua Ying already wanted to kill the falcon in front of her. But this time, Hua Ying had already made her plan. As long as this evil dominator died, the income from the arena would be extremely terrifying for Hua Ying. Many people were already obsessed with this evil dominator, and the bets on the periphery were already very terrifying. All right. You better be able to kill him, Hua Ying said. Following which, he also wrote a purple yuan ticket. This ticket had the unique symbol of the Hell Arena and the amount of money. With this ticket, one could exchange it for purple yuan at any bank. There were many experts in the Black Canal Royal City, so the value of these experts was correspondingly reduced. It was not easy to make money. Therefore, 30 million purple yuan was enough to make a fierce yuan monarch expert risk his life for it. This is the advance payment of 5 million. After 2 hours, I will deposit the remaining 25 million into your arena account. Falcon knew Hua Ying's character. Although she was a woman who wanted to grow up. She was an extremely bold woman. Furthermore, this amount of money was nothing to Hua Ying. It was just a small amount of money. Naturally, she would not go back on her word. Why was she so eager to find Falcon? It could be said that Falcon was Hua Ying's strongest subordinate. If Li Zongjiu won, he would immediately leave this level and enter the next level, where he would enter the arena for 30,000 people. What happened after that would have nothing to do with Hua Ying. She had wanted to keep Li Zongjiu the last time, but she had not expected that Li Zongjiu would be so cold and uncooperative. It would be best if Falcon could kill Li Zongjiu this time. Even if he could not, he had to defeat Li Zongjiu. Otherwise, Hua Ying would suffer a huge loss. In this kind of competition, strength was only a guarantee. If one wanted to survive and kill one's opponent, they would still need to use some tricks. These tricks were the most important thing to achieve victory. If one could survive in this kind of place, people would remember you and not care about what tricks you had used. Falcon left Hua Ying's office and poured out a blood-red elixir pill before stuffing it into his mouth. A dark red glow could be seen flashing across Falcon's eyes. I paid a huge price to find this elixir pill. Today, let me have a taste of your power. This was an elixir found in an ancient tomb. Falcon did not know what it was called, but it was very similar to the legendary explosive blood elixir. After swallowing this elixir, one's combat power would increase by more than 3 times. However, the preparation time was about 10 minutes. The effect would not be immediate, so Falcon swallowed the elixir immediately. Li Zongjiu waited for more than 10 minutes before he was notified that his opponent was ready. They arrived at the arena. In just 10 minutes, the entire arena was filled with people. There were only about 10,000 people, but the number of people present had exceeded 20,000. Li Zongjiu did not care about what his opponent was called. After all, he was already a dead man. There were not many good people who could survive until now in the arena. Therefore, Li Zongjiu did not care if he killed them. Even if there were good people, so what? To Li Zongjiu, he would just kill them all. You can't blame me for not having the ability to survive, right? This match, Evil Lord vs Falcon. Evil Lord's record, 7 matches, 7 wins. Falcon's record, 40 matches, 24 wins, 16 losses. He had fought a total of 40 matches. He had won in the market, which meant that Falcon had killed at least 24 Yuan Monarch level elites. He was still alive after fighting 40 matches. This showed how terrifying his strength was. The match officially begins. The referee announced. As soon as he finished speaking, the referee's figure flashed and he quickly flew into the distance. Although the arena was big enough, it was inevitable that he would be attacked. Therefore, it was better to be careful. Die, kid. The falcon burst forth with a speed that was 3 times faster than usual. His entire body turned into a shadow in the arena, as if he had turned transparent. He quickly closed in on Li Zongjiu. Die, I only need 3 seconds to kill you." There seemed to be a giant black eagle following behind Falcon. The entire arena was shrouded in a terrifying light. Boom! Li Zhongjiu smashed the demonic hammer in his hand forward. At this moment, all of Falcon's senses were magnified by 3 times. When the opponent's power came, Falcon immediately felt an extremely clear power approaching. This power was not something he could withstand. But at the same time, it wasn't something he could dodge. Boom! Falcon crashed into the lightning, and his body was thrown nearly 20 meters into the air. While he was in the air, he was invaded by countless lightning bolts, and Falcon's figure was blasted into pieces. 1 second. The evil dominator had once again achieved an instant kill. Chapter 9:16. Before it even started, the battle was already over. Li Zhongjiu's victory was too fast. No one could react in time. However, it was precisely because of Li Zhongjiu's miraculous performance that the audience came here to watch Li Zhongjiu's match. Sure enough, such an explosive scene finally appeared. The entire audience began to shout loudly. The entrance fee was several hundred gold coins. Just the entrance fee alone was already several million gold coins. He had spent millions, but in the end, it was just for a few seconds. It was really shocking and shocking. Evil Lord! Evil Lord! Evil Lord! The cheers were like a cauldron. The sound waves from all directions continuously assaulted Li Zhongjiu. Holding the demonic hammer in his hand, even Li Zhongjiu could not help but feel ripples in his heart. However, Li Zhongjiu quickly suppressed it. It was still early. Let's do it again. Continue the challenge. Li Zhongjiu actually wanted to continue the challenge. When Huaying saw Li Zhongjiu kill Falcon so easily, she was completely stunned. This was not what she had imagined. Could it be that this young man was not supposed to be defeated? Could it be that Falcon had also accepted this young man's money? However, that was obviously impossible. Falcon was already dead. Even if he had received the money, he would not be alive to spend it. He was already dead. This caused Huaying to be extremely shocked. In fact, Huaying had lost all her bets tonight. This time, she would really bleed a lot. Damn it! Huaying clenched her fists tightly. She did not dare to believe that such a thing had happened. She felt as if the sky had collapsed. Huaying, the higher-ups want to see you. Just as Huaying felt as if she had been struck by a bolt from the blue, 2 figures approached her. They wore the Hell Arena uniform, and their faces were expressionless. They looked like 2 pieces of iron sheets as they approached Huaying. Tonight, Huaying had set up a huge trap. If she wanted to succeed, she needed Li Zhongjiu to fail. However, Li Zhongjiu had once again created an instant kill and sent Huaying straight into the abyss. Huaying knew that Falcon was also capable of instantly killing her previous opponents. However, she never expected that even Falcon would not be able to retaliate in front of this evil lord. This time, the higher-ups wanted to see Huaying. Obviously, they wanted to discuss the punishment for failure. In the end, Huaying was taken away as if she had lost her soul. On the other hand, Li Zhongjiu was still performing his instant kills in the arena. The higher-ups of the Hell Arena had already noticed Li Zhongjiu. It was hard to believe that the young man called the Evil Dominator was so powerful. At the same time, the audience in the Black Canal Royal City began to boil with excitement for the young man called the Evil Dominator. Everyone wanted to witness such a miracle happen. Li Zhongjiu had also defeated all his opponents. 13 consecutive victories. A peak Yuan King powerhouse had been crippled by Li Zhongjiu. He had finally reached his limit. The demonic hammer in his hand had experienced enough killing. Against an expert with 14 consecutive victories, Li Zhongjiu had only defeated him in the 5th second. He had not been able to kill him. This was the effect of the demonic hammer in his hand. Li Zongjiu had a rough idea of the demonic hammer's power. Is this all I can do? The fact that Li Zongjiu's hammer could cripple a peak Yuan monarch meant that the demonic hammer in Li Zongjiu's hands could instantly destroy more than 10 peak Yuan monarch-grade powerhouses on the battlefield. Li Zongjiu was satisfied with the power of the demonic hammer in his hand. The 14th battle was about to begin. At this moment, the sky was already dark. Li Zongjiu could sense that devil hammers will seem to have re-entered a state of rest. Therefore, he did not continue with the challenges. Although the battles ended very quickly, a lot of time had to be spent waiting before the battles started. Thus, a lot of Li Zongjiu's time was wasted. Evil Lord had left the arena, but the spectators were still unsatisfied. They still wanted to continue watching Li Zongjiu's battles. However, he had stopped. 2 more people appeared in the passageway. Evil Lord, right? We are the highest representatives of the Hell Arena. There is something we would like to discuss with you. The 2 of them stood in front of Li Zongjiu. This time, the 2 of them were much more polite than the previous time. I have been rather busy recently. If I have the time, I will consider it. After Li Zongjiu said that, he walked past the 2 of them and walked out. This caused the 2 of them to be extremely shocked. This time, the person who had invited Li Zongjiu wasn't Huaying, who was a mere manager of the 10,000-seat arena. Instead, it was the highest level of the Hell Arena. The people who made up the highest level of the Hell Arena were basically powerhouses who had ascended step by step through the Hell Arena. If one wanted to enter the highest level of the Hell Arena, one would have to pass through at least 18 levels and become the season's champion. The season's champion was considered an expert on the 18th level who had won 18 battles. If one wanted to continue winning, one would have to fight against the highest level of the Hell Arena. Of course, the highest level of the Hell Arena might not accept the challenge because in their eyes, one might not have the qualifications to do so. Therefore, these people were all godlike figures in the Hell Arena. Any one of them had once led the world and had a great reputation in the Hell Arena. It was hard to believe that a fledgling would refuse an invitation from the highest level of the Hell Arena. What an arrogant brat. He is truly arrogant to the extreme. The 2 of them were clearly furious. He doesn't even care about the reputation of the highest level of the Hell Arena. This brat is indeed not simple. A dark figure appeared in front of the 2 of them. When they heard this person's voice, the 2 of them finally reacted. There was actually someone in front of them. When they saw who it was, the 2 of them immediately bowed. Mr. Gao. Mr. Gao. Others like to call this person Mr. Gao. Naturally, they knew his identity very well. He was a member of the highest level of the Hell Arena. They didn't expect Mr. Gao to personally appear. This really surprised the 2 of them. Clearly, the highest level of the Hell Arena valued this person called Evil Lord very much. The Hell Arena didn't send anyone to follow Li Zongjiu. To be honest, they couldn't keep up with Li Zongjiu's pace. If they were discovered, they might have a bad impression of the Hell Arena. If they didn't participate in the Hell Arena in the future, then the Hell Arena would suffer a great loss. On this point, Mr. Gao was very wise. The next time he comes, let me know. I want to meet him personally. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.